Welcome back, everybody, to Watching the Throne, episode 73. And for the last time, Jay, you know what time it is.
Oh
Time for
shit.
that music.
Well, second last time.
Look, now he's into it because he knows this is the end. This is it.
God.
Now he's jamming out.
Your goddamn name. It's pissing me off. It's pissing me off. Not gonna lie. My energy for this level or for this episode, not there. Not there.
Why?
Why? Oh my god. Let's get into it.
Oh, we will. Don't you worry.
I'm ready to fight. But anyways, yes. Hello everybody. Welcome back.
Welcome back, everybody. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for this discussion. The fact that we're actually finishing up this show, I never thought it was going to come. I didn't
Oh
think we
my
were going to
God.
make it here, guys, in terms of our scheduling as of lately in order to pull this off here today, right? So, but we made it. We made it here. So,
Yes, we did.
here we are for episode 73, the last episode of Watching the Throne and the last episode of Game of Thrones. And that is season 8, episode 6, The Iron Throne.
Wow.
We made it.
Damn.
You guys made it.
We
You
made
made
it.
it.
We made it. We made
You
it.
did
I made
it,
it.
guys. You did it. Kudos to both of you for sticking it out. You
And
did it.
For some strange reason, if this is your first time tuning into the show, this is our Game of Thrones
Welcome.
kind of review, overview, kind of like, deep dive conversation type show that we've watched every episode of Game of Thrones and kind of went over them. And sometimes we have guests join us, like super fan guests like Christina here, who's been on for the entirety of this last season with us. And we have some news about House of the Dragon, so I'll announce that in a minute here. But I just wanted to say you can always go back and check out our playlist, guys. Here, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, and check out all the episodes here. If you ever wanted to watch Game of Thrones for the first time or you wanted to revisit it, these are good episodes to go over. And JT was our guinea pig in that sense. He's never seen the show, so he's come on here and he gave his opinions firsthand every episode here, and is through fresh eyes, right? This is my first time revisiting the show, so it's been a while for me after watching this as well. And Christina, of course, has watched it like several times at this point.
8 times maybe. I don't know. I lost track. Something like ridiculous like that.
Well, I mean, this is so weird because, I mean, listening to me today with you guys on the podcast 5 years ago, that was interesting. Listening to our voices, listening to our, I don't know, enthusiasm towards it, you guys, and it was.
Yeah.
We literally were
what a
talking about
difference.
the same things.
Yeah. So
voice.
let's get it out of the way, actually. So guys, let's start off the show by doing this first, because this is our only time we're going to be able to do this. And I teased this in the last episode that basically there was a couple of episodes that we actually recorded 5 years ago at the start of us doing this whole late night chat show and channel and everything else. And all these other shows eventually that spun out of that channel. But at that time, we were an audio only podcast, and Christina had came and actually sat in this very room where me and Jay are recording tonight, and actually just talked in the mics without a video at that time.
Cameras.
Yeah, it was just an audio podcast. And at that time, Christina came on and she discussed the ending of Game of Thrones with us. So what I did not realize was when we went back to check the tape, because we wanted to see what our initial reactions were, because we actually had it on the record. We thought it would be really cool for us to go and revisit that, because it was a recording that we did 5 years ago when it was the time of the finale of the show. We actually did not talk about the finale altogether on the episode. Now, Jay had never watched it at that time, so he was just in the room listening to me and Christina kind of talk about all the, talk about, all the ins and outs of the episodes. And she came on for one episode, and I lost part of the recording. So she had to come back on a couple of weeks later. But the nice thing about that was we actually ended up talking about, as a result, all 5 episodes of this final season except the finale. Except the finale. So this whole time
Why
we've been
did we
teasing
do
the fact.
that?
I don't know. This whole time I've been thinking that we had the finale on the record as well. We didn't, but I did kind of talk about it a couple of episodes after the ones that we had Christina on briefly. So I did kind of want to highlight some of the things that we talked about on those episodes before we kind of get into the final discussion of the finale here, because this will be technically our first discussion, all 3 of us, Jay included. Jay was just in the room. Yeah, Jay was just in the room before.
I know names,
he had
everything.
no idea what we were talking about. He basically was just talking a bunch of trash.
Oh, there was, you know,
Yeah, but and we were
we've
full
toned it
on.
down.
Yeah, like we're talking full on about how this ended, and Jade was just sitting there, just like,
Make it jokes.
yeah, like
You know, we were a little bit more unrated. Like I
Talking
feel
about-
like more free flowing. I think in that sense, like we said things that just popped to our head, and I realized once the camera came into play, I think we kind of toned it down just a tad.
yeah,
Because
maybe a
there
little
was
bit.
some things said in those ones that were pretty off color. I was pretty like worried about it. We had some good stuff.
Honestly,
though.
I think the episodes held up. Honestly, I do still think there were
Mhm.
good discussions there that were had on those episodes amongst all of the Game of Thrones talk as well. And I actually thought they held up pretty well. Honestly, revisiting them, although the audio was atrocious, I was
Oh,
just
fuck. It was
you
different,
know,
eh?
because we didn't really know how to do a setup for 3 mics at that time. So like it sounded like I was in the background all the time, right? But but it was still fun to actually still revisit that. I don't know
Yeah.
about you, Christina, if you enjoy re-listening, but
I
had
did.
yeah, it was
I
a
did.
lot of fun. It was
I
a lot of
actually, it
fun.
was in my head. I had a vision or like a memory of being so much more aggressive and passionate about what I was saying, but I must have censored myself
Yeah.
for the recordings because I didn't think I sounded as aggressive as I whatever, but I did appreciate that like what I sounded like and what I was saying back then still resonates. Like I actually feel
Yes.
very similar now, which I thought was different. I don't know. It's just so strange. It's like a time warp. Like it's just
Yeah.
a time warp.
It was weird how some of our comments we thought maybe it was going to reflect differently because it was 5 years ago and we've revisited the show now. But honestly, as I'm about to go and review all of our comments here in a moment, a lot of them still track. A lot of them are still the same. Honestly, some of our opinions on the show, so it's kind of interesting
Except
to
for the
revisit
people you
it.
thought who were gonna live and die.
There were
I'm
some
pretty
wild
sure.
predictions.
Oh, of course. Yeah, those
yeah.
predictions were wild. Like, because we had no idea, right? So
Yeah.
this is a very different like conversation because we know how it ends. But
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I even found it interesting how some of the things that we were specifically talking about or moments in the show that we really enjoyed and brought up in those episodes 5 years ago were kind of the same ones that we brought up this time. So they obviously like stuck with us so much that we really enjoyed them watching them again and again and again, right? We wanted to bring it up again. I don't know. I thought it was, but yes,
You
let us
guys
know.
sounded like kids in the candy store at that day, on those days. Like when I was listening to the you guys talk about all the episodes there. I honestly thought, I mean, you guys were so excited. You guys were so passionate about it. I mean, don't get me wrong, you still are.
Yeah, we
and,
were geeking out because it was our first. It
Oh,
was all
fuck.
new at that
Yeah.
time. It wasn't just us like kind
You
of
guys
like
were trying to explain to me who Reek is and
yeah,
fucking
it
all
wasn't
the
us just
names and
reviewing it and revisiting it like we are now. That was all like, you know, we were experiencing for the first time then, right? It's kind of like, you know,
Wow.
we kind of sounded like how you should have been sounding some of these episodes when we sat here and discussed it, you know, throwing out predictions as we're trying to prod some of these
I
things
mean,
out
I had
of
a
you.
pretty good
Sometimes
prediction. I mean,
some of this, you know, sometimes it's felt like pulling
Jay-
teeth here sitting with you.
Jay, if you had a prediction for the end of the show, I didn't hear it.
hey, it's on my screen.
Now it's on your screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
So-
told you
so-
something's happening.
So let me
Yeah,
quickly
I know you did.
So let me quickly go over some of the bullet points
Oh,
of things
fuck.
that we talked about on those episodes. And for anybody that does want to check them out, the episodes in the Late Night Chat, like proper show on the Late Night Chat Network YouTube channel, we have a playlist of all of our Late Night Chat episodes, all 263 of them. But this is all the way back, episode 15, entitled "Moving On," and the picture was the smug Daenerys face look of the picture of that episode, and then you
Moving
also.
online and
And then
stuff.
Christina returned a couple weeks later because I lost half of the episode to record You Had One Job. And the name of that episode is because I fucked up and lost the audio. So that's episode 16. So 15 and 16, Christina joined us 5 years ago. If you want to go listen to those episodes, guys, they're in the playlist. And then I briefly touched on the conclusion of the series on episode 18, entitled "Fuck You, Game of Thrones Fan."
I saw that one.
Yeah, and I kind of briefly talked about, Christina kind of talking to me about it off the air, but I didn't really get into the whole thing because JT wasn't like a viewer of the show at
Yeah,
that
at the
time.
time.
So I kind of just briefly touched on more of kind of
The feelings.
the reaction from fans on the finale, and like the toxic fandom that was going on at that time of everyone freaking the fuck out. And I mentioned that Christina had sent me a link to a petition that had been going around at that time, and this is why I kind of disappointed I didn't have you on for the finale, because I think that is where you probably would have went off at the time, because you're the one that sent me that link and you're like, hey, there's a petition going around, thousands of people have signed it already, they want to redo the whole season 8, they want the writers to go back and rewrite it and refilm it. And yeah,
How'd that work?
I'm pretty sure you were advocating for that at the
I'm
time.
pretty
How'd
sure I
that work?
retweeted, like reposted, like yeah, I'm sure I did, like for sure.
Yeah. So, but I gotta say though, a lot of our
They don't listen.
opinions tracked on the first 5 episodes of season 8. So let me just touch on this really quick there. So here are some of the things we said. Basically, we talked about possibly he was withholding ideas for the final book. Here we are 5 years later, and it's still not finished. I just figured I should mention that. Again, these were all opinions from 5 years ago, guys. This was Christina's at the time 4th time watching the entire series when we recorded, talking about episodes 1 to 3 5 years ago at that time, leading up to the
Mhm.
finale. At that
Oh,
time,
there we
she
go.
had claimed it was her 4th time watching the entire series leading up to the finale. Okay. There was a lot of talk of everything being predestined or foreshadowed at the time, which we kind of realized even back then while we were watching the show, and the things that were kept happening basically, had repeated, and we were, thinking that something like that would happen in regards
Mhm.
to the theme of what would happen by the end of the series. JT was really hating on us talking about dragons at the time on the show, which I wanted to mention
Oh.
because that's like his favorite fucking thing.
I didn't think
That's
you were-
his favorite.
I was hoping you weren't gonna say
Yeah.
anything. Eh? He's fucking. I didn't. I wasn't into these fake fucking dragons and shit.
I had to mention this because it's like his favorite fucking
You-
thing on the show now. Like he loves House of the fucking Dragon. He loves the dragons are like his favorite thing on the show. So it's hilarious that he was talking shit about it back then.
You were talking so much shit and making fun of us for like, oh, what is this? Dragons? Like, wow, magic.
Yeah.
Again, guys, he had really no opinion or thing to say on us talking about Game of Thrones for an hour, so he's trying to throw some jokes out there. One
He's
of
like a
them,
negative 10 fan.
yeah. One of the jokes that he threw out there is that he asked if you and Lewis had
Oh,
any kind
role
of
played.
in the bedroom.
That was awesome.
And I actually like this joke. He made a joke saying, "Hey, does he dress up as the little guy?"
Yeah, that was the best.
Not knowing who Tyrion was at the time, but he knew that much enough to say that, which was pretty good.
You said he was under the 4 foot mark.
So I liked that. So our opinions on the first 3 episodes were: episode 1, we both agreed it was a good setup episode. Episode 2, I think more so you than me, and I think it was the same time this time around. You said it was a complete waste of time, that episode.
I said the exact same thing this time.
Yeah. And 3rd episode, you loved it. We both loved it, actually. We both loved it
Yeah.
at the time when we recorded that. We talked about the Daenerys smug face meme was going around. We made fun of Bran at the time, even back then. His like non-expression. We here's a couple of theories that we had. We had a theory that Jaime was going to kill Cersei at that time. We were
Yeah.
hoping
I was
for it.
so sure. I was like, no, he
loving
has to.
that one,
Like,
eh,
it,
that
like
you
that's
said
just what
that.
has
I
to
was hearing
happen.
that.
Yeah. Then we had, there was a whole a theory that Christina had that she thought Tyrion was going to flip like flip on Daenerys essentially in that whole situation and actually side
Pretty
with
sure
I don't know
the
why I
Lannisters.
thought that.
you had
I
the
don't know
Drake curse
why.
too in there somewhere.
And then,
We
oh
did
yeah, then I talked about, yeah, sorry, go on, go on, go on.
No, no, I was gonna say. Then we talked about in episode 3 specifically. We did have questions of where Arya popped out from, even back then, like where she,
Mm.
came from. We were kind of trying to figure out where she kind of jumped out of at that moment in time to kill the Night King there. Another theory that Christina had mentioned was a theory that was going around back then. I'd
Mhm.
forgotten was that Bran possibly was the Night King. That was
Oh, I
a
forgot about
theory
that. That's
going
not the one I was talking
around.
about, but that I forgot about too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you did say it. It's funny too, man.
We
When I heard that.
we had fully talked about John dying in the series in front of JT back then. I wanted to mention that because that was one of the things that fucked with JT's head ever since we've started rewatching these episodes, is that he had heard that John died. And although it was not a lie that someone spoiled it for him, he obviously comes back. So that was
Yeah.
kind of fun. I wrote down JT continued to talk shit about the show on the episode.
Did you say that the area had the Drake curse?
So I'm getting to that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. So here's our predictions. So then at the end of that first episode, moving on, we predict here were our grand predictions for the rest of the series.
That's
Okay.
what I love.
So here's the death predictions. Christina, let's have a count here. Christina predicted the following people probably could die by the end of the series. Podrick, nope. Euron, yes. Brienne, nope. Tormund, nope. And your prediction for who sat on the throne was Daenerys. But she technically did. She technically did.
She
for
was
a
the last
moment.
one, but to be
Yeah.
honest, she didn't actually. She touched it.
That's right. Yeah, that's true.
She didn't
yeah.
actually sit on it. She
Yeah,
touched
That's
it.
true. That's true. That's true. Okay, so my predictions were I did pretty good actually. I did better than you on my predictions for deaths. I said Daenerys. I predicted that the greed was going to get to her there. Cersei. I said Jamie, but I said specifically saving Brienne. So
Yeah.
I was wrong in that sense, but I was right about those three people. And then I also predicted that there was one Stark that was going to die, which they didn't. But my prediction was Arya at the time because there was the Drake curse going around at that time. If you guys remember, he shouted out Arya at an award show, and everyone was worried that she was going to die at that time because, of course, there was the Drake curse. If you put a jersey on for the Leafs, they would lose. It was like a whole thing back then. So there was a prediction going around that because he shouted out Arya and how much he loved that character on the show, that she was going to end up dying. So that I was really scared about that, but she ended up surviving. So I was wrong about that. And then the most interesting thing, which I actually really like, and this kind of held up, was Christina's theory that she said that her dad there mentioned. She said about Mark saying that basically, I'm glad this wasn't the case, but that Sam was going to wake up from a dream essentially, and the ending was going to be like him waking up because he was the the hero that really all this stuff that happened to him. He isn't the atypical hero in these type of stories, right?
Yeah.
So this was
But
all
he
gonna be-
survived everything. He was like the hero for everything.
That's right.
But how? Well, he's the least likely of characters to be the hero of anything, but he somehow manages to move on or move forward in the story unscathed.
Yeah, he kind of represented like the everyman, kind of like in that sense, right?
Yeah.
And like in these fantastical tales, you know what I mean? Like it's like, would somebody like that actually have survived all this kind of stuff, right? So like that was a good prediction. I liked that idea. And then we also kind of throw out the idea. I'm like, what do you think? Like George R.R. Martin's gonna be sitting there and he's gonna fucking close a book or something like that. And I remember saying, like, I'm like, if that fucking happens, I'm gonna be so pissed.
Well, I mean, there was a
like-
book, bro, in a sense.
Well, but
you know.
but if it was a dream sequence, that would have pissed me the fuck off. Like that's like some Sopranos type shit. Like at the end where
Yeah, I was waiting for Stone Stop.
I've also heard that theory, like being the theory for Harry Potter. With like at the end of the whatever, like Harry wakes up under the cupboard, like in the cupboard under the stairs,
right.
like, and he's still 11 years old, kind of. Anyway, so
Right.
that's like I've heard that theory too, like similar
Right.
to. They got
I
to
don't
come.
know.
They're gonna do it. Something's gonna happen. It's gonna be like another like M. Night Shyamalan, like
Sometimes those
something.
endings are fun, but sometimes it really just pisses a lot of people off. Like it depends. It depends what it is. Something like this, I think people would have been more pissed off with that ending, if anything, right?
Oh,
But
especially after that line.
I hate the dream sequence kind of cop out, right? So, And then I predicted that I thought that Tyrion was going to get the throne and he was going to marry Sansa and that Jon was going to kill Daenerys. So I was somewhat right about some of those things there, but not the Sansa thing. And Tyrion somewhat is kind of running things by the end of this, right? We'll get to that though. And and then yeah, as I mentioned on the oh no, sorry. So that was the first episode, and then very quickly on the second episode where Christina joined us again because I lost the recording. We talked about episodes 4 and 5.
Not as excited though.
Yeah. We weren't as excited leading into this because we were kind of worried about what was going to happen. So very quickly, I really fucking hated Jamie's end still. I stuck by that theory as you watched the last episode, guys, where I freaked the fuck out about that. Christina still liked the whole Daenerys basically turn that she did, and she felt it tracked at the time, and it all made sense. So there you go. She wasn't hating on it even then. Yeah. So,
but see, that's so interesting because when I think back in my memory, I remember being so shooketh, like, oh, how could
Shooketh?
she do
Right.
that? Yes, I speak like this now.
Okay.
You know, like
I'm just
I remember being so like, oh my God, like, what is she doing? What is she doing? So I'm surprised because in my memory, it feels different than what I actually said.
right.
So I don't know. Like, I don't know where this memory came from, but anyways.
Yeah, but you have it on the record that you kind of were
I do.
okay with it at the time.
five,
So
5 years ago. It's hard to remember a lot of things.
something that we didn't talk about the last episode when this happened, or I guess a couple episodes, maybe even. I can't recall which episode was 4 or 5. We talked about sloppy editing of Jamie's real hand was in one of the scenes instead of his fake hand. Apparently, I don't know now if they've removed that and fixed it in post, and maybe that's what we've watched on TV now, and we've gone to rewatch it. But we talked about on the episode there was a scene where Jamie's real hand, where his fake hand should have been, was actually in the scene, and we were talking about again the rushed bullshit editing that was occurring at that time. Now we didn't catch that this time around, but we did talk about that, so I guess that was something that happened. We didn't think the Daenerys turn was out of character, but we acknowledged how much hate it was getting at the time, like from fans. We did talk about that. Christina, you hated on Arya running around the streets for 20 minutes on that 5th episode, and with everything going on, like in the you know, when she knocks her head and she gets knocked out, and you know all the chaos that's happening. You really hated that at the time because you thought it was a waste of time in the episode. You did feel the same about Rhaegal's death though, being too easy, and how like basically how did, like, you had mentioned this as well, revisiting it this time, how Drogon, I guess it was the other dragon, right? Or
Yeah,
how
Drogon.
how basically he easily survived his ordeal, like in the sea, and somehow Rhaegal just got hit by the fucking bolt and got killed right away. You had mentioned that this time around as well, being annoyed by that. I hated Euron then and now, and Christina liked him then and so there you go, that stuck. We were sad that Jamie didn't kill Cersei.
Yeah.
And finally, although we were excited for the finale, we were not sure that we were going to be satisfied with it going into that last episode. And we actually said that on the record. We were not, although we were excited, we were not sure that we were going to walk away enjoying it. So that leads us to today, guys. We were talking about the final episode here, first time on the record here. We have it all came full circle, and we caught JT back up, and here we are. So I don't know. Should we get any comments, or do you want to have a final say of your thoughts on the episode at the end of this episode here, Jay?
Yeah, I guess so. I'll fill in with my comments as we're going along because I got some stuff written down too. So I got some interesting thoughts.
Oh,
What
would you give this as a rating before we get into the conversation? This finale.
I mean, I can't see. I mean, I don't find it as bad as you guys made it sound in the beginning.
So what? You would give it a B? Would you give it an A? A minus? What are we talking here?
In class terms, I don't know. Maybe like a C. I'd give it a C.
Interesting.
Maybe.
C plus?
C plus. Yeah. Maybe
Okay.
somewhere around there.
Okay. But you didn't hate
my
it.
scores in school. Well, actually, that's a little too high, but yeah.
But you didn't hate it.
No.
Okay.
I didn't hate it. I didn't. I like I said.
There's
the
certain
rush
things
parts.
maybe.
The rush parts maybe were
Right.
too much. Like there's a parts there that you know, happened really quick, man.
Mhm.
You know, like how the fuck did you get there that fast? That's what I was. I've been hating that all season. It took forever for the first fucking couple seasons to get to town, and now it's taking fucking 2 seconds.
Right.
Literally scene to scene.
Right.
So I'm not so
Not to
fond of that.
mention, there is a time jump even within this episode
Yeah,
of
no,
things that
yeah.
aren't really explained.
No,
But we'll
and
get
that's the
into it.
fucking
We'll get into
It's
it.
the real
Okay.
piss off.
But yeah, here we are. We've made it here, guys. And I did want to tease that we have confirmed that Christina will also be joining us, possibly for the entirety of House of the Dragon as well,
Oh,
as we
fuck,
go
man.
into that show following this. So, guys, we have confirmed the date of the new House of the Dragon season that's coming out in June this summer. So, as soon as this show is done, we'll be leading right back into another show reviewing House of the Dragon season
Wow.
1.
Better song though.
And yeah, and and I don't even remember what the song for House of the Dragon was. At
I
this
I
just
don't
point.
made that
either,
up.
and I've watched it like a handful of times again.
Yeah, like I said, I don't even I don't
So
know.
so join us for that, guys. We will be reviewing in similar fashion the first season of House of the Dragon previous to the new season, and then we'll be kind of doing weekly check-ins with our live reactions to every episode when season 2 comes out. So. And then hopefully Christina will be joining us for some of that too. That'll be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to that. So yeah, that'll be really good.
Same.
I watched the intro and from the first episode and the last one at this time, just to see what the difference was. And yeah, there's a big difference. There is a big fucking difference in the design and just the way that they roll it out. I mean, it's all the same how it starts.
It's
in
good
a
that it's
sense, but
different though. It should be different.
yeah.
It
so
should be different. We
I
don't
heard
want
there's somewhere on the internet. There's like all the changed ones. You know what I mean? The ones that changed. I don't know if it's per season or how they did it.
and there was a piece of news that I saw today on the internet that has now confirmed that Jon Snow, the spinoff, is no longer in production. Apparently, they've confirmed this as of today.
He's
Apparently,
gone, the Targaryen.
Jon Snow's spinoff series no longer in development at HBO. And according to Deadline, the potential Game of Thrones sequel headlined by Kit Harington, who plays Jon Snow, is no longer in development at HBO. The actor and the main driving force behind the project said. Harington has been reluctant to speak about the spinoff while it was still at the idea stage because in development you look at every angle and you see whether it's worth it, he told Screen Rant. And currently it's not. Currently it's off the table because we all couldn't find the right story to tell that we were all excited about enough. So we decided to lay down tools with it for the time being. There may be a time in the future where we return to it, but at the moment, no, it's firmly on the shelf. So I'm kind of disappointed to hear that, and I didn't talk about it previous to today because I didn't want you to think that he survived this ordeal on the show, just in case, but that was something they've been teasing the last couple years that possibly was going to be happening after House of the Dragon at some point was going to be his own series. So hopefully it still happens. I actually would be interested in a Jon Snow show. I don't know about you guys, but
I would be, but
yeah.
I kind of understand why they would table it because it's like, what are they gonna talk about? Like, what
his journeys throughout the rest of Westeros that we haven't seen yet.
Ding.
Oh,
it's
like-
Nico's brain going.
yeah.
but what journeys through which part of Westeros? Like the north? Like,
Yeah, there's nobody there anymore.
Stuff
With
that
the
we
free
haven't
folk?
seen. So, yeah, well, I don't know, right? Like there could be lots of things, right? I don't know what to expect, but there's definitely it's a big world.
Maybe
We
he
haven't,
comes back.
right? Like I mean, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
there's still
there's-
opportunity to do
Kills his
lots.
brother.
I guess there is. Anyways, they kind of the ending of this episode alludes to there could being a sequel. They did leave it a little open ended. We can talk about it as we get to those scenes in the end.
Right.
But yeah, I guess so. But I mean, it wouldn't be Westeros. Like it wouldn't have anything to do with the seven kingdoms.
Right, but the way they ended it was that he was basically going off somewhere. He could have discovered new ground somewhere. He could have filled out a part of the world that was like unexplored, right? That was the whole kind
Well,
of
I think
like,
that's what Arya is doing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Isn't that what she wants to do, right?
right.
That's what
well,
Arya is doing. So they could
Where
make
the
a
map
show.
stops.
I
or
don't
like
know.
a show called Beyond the Wall, starring Jon Snow, and maybe he like hooks up with a new wildling or something. I don't know.
Drink
I
that
don't know if
fucking-
I'd
what's that
watch it,
thing?
to be honest.
Sperm milk or whatever that
I
that
know.
alcohol's called that they drink.
Yeah.
The sperm milk.
Giant's milk, not
Yeah.
sperm milk. Ew.
All right.
It sounded something like that.
Without further ado, though, let's get into the episode for the last time here on Game of Thrones. But join us for House of the Dragon, guys. Make sure to tune in for that show.
Dun, dun, dun. There we go.
Snow falls over the wreckage of King's Landing as Jon, Davos, and Tyrion walk through the ash-covered devastation with charred bodies of civilians and soldiers everywhere. Tyrion leaves Jon and Davos as he walks alone toward the Red Keep. And we kind of get like a close-up of Tyrion's face that's really great during this scene. And you kind of see like some people, like a random burnt guy that's in shock walking through the fucking
was a trip, eh?
streets. Yeah. and
His whole back is
a
all-
guy keeled over weeping, like, yeah, I guess because like, he's, of everything that happened. And you're just seeing like the destruction somewhat of the streets as he's kind of walking through it and the people that were somewhat affected by it. Although the streets were kind of barren.
Yeah,
I
there
guess a
wasn't
lot of them
much.
got burnt to ash. So.
Yeah, there wasn't much. I mean, whatever was left of.
Did
food
anyone
and what-
survive? Like, I don't know. Like, it didn't seem like
There's-
anybody survived.
I mean, there was some people. There was at least 5 of them that were kneeling there.
It,
So,
it was pretty quiet scene
Yeah.
overall, though, right? Like the main people that we saw walking through were those
It wasn't
characters.
packed at
right?
all.
Yeah, no.
no.
So, I guess the unfortunate couple people that somehow survived were all really messed up that you saw through wandering through the streets there. So that's kind of what it depicted. So
Well,
that was interesting.
It's one way for crowd control. I could have used
Oh.
that at the Raptors parade.
Straight up. Hey,
Sure.
you just call on Daenerys. Hey, help me out.
Sure.
Anyways.
Then we get to meanwhile, Jon finds Grey Worm about to execute the remainder of the Lannister forces
He's
And-
just angry.
and tries to stop him. Yeah, this is
just angry.
this is a
and
pissed off Grey
heartbroken and
Worm. Yeah,
fucking-
this is probably the most pissed we've seen the character like ever since his introduction these last couple of episodes,
Yeah.
right? So Jon finds Grey Worm about to execute the remainder of the Lannister forces and tries to stop him, telling him it's over. Grey Worm, however, tells him it won't be over until Daenerys' enemies are defeated. But Davos asks him, how much more defeated do you need them to be? They're on their knees. The Unsullied commander reminds Davos that he only obeys the Queen's commands. When Jon asks him what are those commands, Grey Worm reveals that he has orders to kill all who follow Cersei and that the soldiers that they captured chose to fight for her. Grey Worm then takes out his knife to begin the execution before Jon grabs him by the arm in an attempt to stop him. Immediately, all of the Unsullied present threateningly, aim their spears at Jon, and the Northerners, who, except for Jon, draw their swords in self-defense. As Grey Worm glares at Jon for attempting to intervene, Davos immediately diffuses the confrontation, telling Jon that they should speak with Daenerys. And as the two leave, Grey Worm starts to slit the prisoners' throats one by one. Any thoughts on this?
No, he was just pissed off.
I think, okay, yeah, he's pissed, but
Yeah.
he's also like, this is the episode that I think people are like, this is so out of character, la la la, because like the Unsullied have no emotion, like they're not driven by emotion. So it's like, I understand he lost Missandei, but
Mhm.
there's no one else that he lost. Like, why is he acting like this? And why does he have so much anger? Like, over, you know what I mean? Because, and even Daenerys, like, I understand she's gone mad, so he has a direction, but even the fact he got aggressive with Jon, like, it just seemed out of character. Like, I didn't like his character in this episode. I love Grey Worm, but I didn't like his character in this episode.
His character, was it?
Yeah.
No, you just the way he said it 3 times. It's
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, sorry. It's mom brain.
Yeah. I'm just trying to bring back a little of the old school from the first one.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
Jay.
some of,
I
trying to
see.
bring back,
You
trying to
guys
bring,
were a lot quicker then.
trying to bring back some of the condescension from the
Yeah,
from
you
the
guys
first
were a lot
episode.
Like, moving on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. That was a great.
No,
insight, and
you're right. I didn't enjoy him really that much either in this because he kind of lost all his humanity, like I guess over these last couple of episodes, and
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense. But at the same time, it's like, between the Missandei thing and how cold he is now as a result of, like, I guess Daenerys acting this way. He wasn't a fun character at all throughout this episode. Even when we catch up with him later, when he's kind of with the rest of the survivors and the people that are kind of now running the kingdom and all that kind of stuff, he was kind of a dick there too. And it kind of would have been nice, like, this guy had relationships with a lot of these people, you know what I mean? So it's kind of weird that he's just going to be like this the whole time in this episode, right? So it's not like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I agree with her. I didn't love him either in this episode. So yeah, it's, anyways. Once inside, Tyrion headed towards the cellar and takes the same escape route Jaime had taken him through on the eve of his scheduled beheading, courtesy of their father's sentencing when Tyrion was falsely accused of killing Joffrey Baratheon. Tyrion walks through the rubble and remains of the Red Keep searching for his siblings. He then spots Jaime's golden hand under the rubble. Devastated by this sign, Tyrion clears away the rubble the rubble stone by stone to find the corpse of his sister Cersei Lannister and is visibly shaken by it, knowing his brother is next to her under the debris. Tyrion painfully continues to clear away broken rock and begins to weep when he finds Jaime's corpse. His dead brother's death wish has been fulfilled. Jaime died in the arms of the woman he loved.
So fucking stupid. It just that picture, that frame there. I
The
hate
3
that.
rocks that he had to clear.
Also,
Yeah.
some of the worst
Well, he
crying I
crawled
think that's
through a
been
little rock
committed to
like that,
film.
too.
He's a wonderful actor,
Yeah.
but I did not believe the fucking emotion that was coming out of him in this scene. That was terrible. It was terrible, right? Like, am I the only one? Like, I thought this like the crying was so bad, so bad.
It's
like,
hard
and
to fake it
unbelievable.
after fucking 8 seasons, buddy.
Oh, it was like it was one of those like it was like one of those things like, oh no, like it was like that, like
It was like cringy.
fake crying. Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
straight up fake crying. It was like somebody imitating somebody crying. That's what it was. It's like,
Yeah,
mean-
it was not great.
yeah, it's not as great. It's not his best moment. I'll say that much. And yeah, I mean he won many awards for this show, if I'm not mistaken. I believe when he was doing this show. I
Yeah,
think
lots of
he's won-
Emmys and stuff like that. Yeah.
So, and well deserved. He's still my favorite character throughout this whole
I mean,
show.
he really wasn't in it for the crying, dude.
But this was
Yeah.
just bad. I
Yeah.
know it's true. It's kind of out of character even
Yeah.
for his.
Even when he's walked
Character.
through some rubble before, he doesn't really cry. He just,
That's
you know,
true. A lot of bad shit has happened to him on
Yeah.
this show, and yeah, he kind of hasn't really balled like
No.
this, and so I guess he wasn't prepared for it. Right? Like this was bad.
he's like the last Lannister.
Yeah.
It's-
Anyways.
Yeah, he is.
Also, and I think we talked about it at the time too, although I didn't hear it on those recordings. Maybe we talked about it amongst ourselves. The placement of the bricks.
Yeah, I
Like,
just said
they're-
that when he had to move
Right.
three stones, like
Yeah, and he gets through that little hole. I mean, I can understand that part. that
No, but,
opening
like-
when he gets through to the top.
Even where it fell,
Yeah,
Jamie they literally could have just like
Oh, they
stepped
had
to
to
his
been
side.
crushed, yeah.
And mind you, if you get hit by one big rock, it's over. I get
Yeah.
that, but like
but they were on top of like a little pile of rocks
that's what I
first.
mean.
no, they
And all-
weren't. They
No,
were
but-
on flat ground.
Yeah, no, she's right. And then but around
like
them in the scene,
Yes,
the-
around them there was a pile.
the setup of this scene though, when he goes and tries to go through the rubble, there's lots of room all around that one big pile where they could have ran to.
Yeah,
you
they
know
could
what I
have
mean?
moved this way a little bit, shifted to the left, and they would have been fine.
That's
Because it
what I
only
mean.
dropped right on top of them.
It's not like he couldn't even venture in there to find their dead bodies. Like that's how bad it could have been, right? But it
Yeah.
wasn't.
I thought it was when he seen the wall blocked there, with where he seen that little bit of light. I thought that was it. There was nothing on the other side of that, really. I mean, but then all of a sudden he's on the other side.
This was a bad
He
scene
walked
all
through the-
around.
he
This-
walked through the
this,
wall.
This was just a bad scene. This is.
But I
quick.
think this scene for like they needed to do something with this scene to confirm so that Tyrion can confirm that Jaime and Cersei are dead. Like
sure.
they haven't like escaped, they haven't like whatever, like because that was the intention. So I think they
Yeah.
needed to do something to like wrap up the scene, but it was poorly executed and again rushed. Like it wasn't like well done at all.
I mean, he walked slowly through the streets to get there. So, I mean, he didn't really run.
Yeah, I have no problem with them doing a scene like this for him to confirm the fact that he lost his brother and sister in that final
Yeah, it was
kind of
just
ordeal.
Poorly done.
It was just poorly staged. Like the look of the scene was bad. The setup of the scene, the crying was bad. Yeah, it was just bad. It was just bad. I don't know. Revisiting this, I didn't like this scene very much. Outside the gates of the city, the Dothraki are celebrating their victory while stony-faced Arya appears from the ruined city covered in ash, blood, and grime. Jon pushes his way through the crowd of Dothraki and goes toward the gate, upon which a huge Targaryen banner is hanging. As he reaches the top, Grey Worm also appears, and they exchange a tense look. Drogon then appears with Daenerys and lands behind them. She walks out to address her army amidst much cheering from them. And in a loud voice, Daenerys tells the Dothraki, "You tore down their stone houses. You gave me the 7 kingdoms." Turning to Grey Worm, Daenerys promotes him to commander of all her forces and the master of war. She also praises the Unsullied and calls her forces liberators for freeing the people of King's Landing, while Jon watches in concern. Tyrion then comes to the scene looking devastated by his brother's death. Daenerys then declares that she now wants to break the wheel and enlists her army to aid her in liberating not only all of Westeros, but the world. From Winterfell to Dorne, from Lannisport to Qarth, from the Summer Isles to the Jade Sea, destroying the tyrants of the world.
Fucking bitch. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry, just the one scene of her, like the classic, like her walking through like whatever, and then Drogon's wings like spread
That was a
behind
nice
her.
picture. Yeah,
That was
Yeah.
cool, eh?
that was. Yeah,
I-
it looked like they came out from behind it, like on her back. I didn't know you couldn't even see
Yeah.
the dragon.
I also liked the I thought it was some good acting, like the looks of despair on Jon and Tyrion's face in this moment, like just like we made a huge fucking mistake. Like I like, again, like they didn't really say too much as she was doing this, but you could tell. And I'm about to get to the moment here where they exchange looks before Tyrion gets kind of like hauled off. There's some good exchanges there, I thought, between the two of them. Like kind of like, like says a lot, I think, about like them in this current
Yeah, see-
position
he's kinda,
now. As
See
a
what I
result.
told you?
Yeah.
Like fuck, man.
I thought that was well
Step
done.
up. That's what Tyrion's looking at him, saying, "Step up."
From behind the cheering armies, Arya looks up at Daenerys, angry that the latter had killed Cersei ahead of her. When Daenerys sees Tyrion, she accuses him of treason since he freed Jaime. He replies, "I freed my brother, and you slaughtered a city."
Yeah, fuck. Eh?
With a look of disgust, Tyrion throws away his hand of the queen brooch. Outraged by this show of defiance, Daenerys orders her men to take him away. Perturbed, Jon and Tyrion make eye contact before Jon turns to face Daenerys. They share a tense silence before she leaves with some of the Unsullied. Yeah, brave of him, I think, even in this moment to do that, right? Like, and not just go along with it, because he
Well,
was just like, "What the fuck?"
I
He's
think
like,
it's
"Fuck
I don't think he
this."
cares at this point. He's just like
Yeah.
over it. He's like, you know what? You're a tyrant, and I don't care.
Yeah, and then, I mean, to be honest with you, I'd be pissed off too. I mean, he cared about his brother. We've already figured that out in the last the last while when he tried to get him to free himself. He tried to let him escape, right? So even that, man, just to lose to everybody, he's got nothing left. I mean, he even lost his fucking city. Yeah, I can see him doing that. You bitch, and he stood by her side the whole time, thinking that he could change her. You know what I mean? I felt bad for him at that moment, but hey,
Yeah.
it's the way you go.
Before we continue, can we? You're just gonna have to cut this out.
I'll pause it.
I think
Hey, he's awake. All right. Then Arya silently appears beside Jon while he watches Daenerys leave. Jon is surprised that his sister is in King's Landing because this is the first time he's seen her, that she traveled here throughout all this stuff that happened, right?
I love how she just like popped up, like again, like boom,
Yeah.
I'm here.
I know it was kind of goofy, but because he's like, "What?"
Whatever.
I was like, "All
Like,
right,
what are you
whatever."
doing here?
Yeah.
She's a sneak.
So she shows up, and when he notices her bloody face, he asks what happened to her. Arya tells him that she came to kill Cersei, but Daenerys got to her first. When Jon tells her that Daenerys is now queen of all of Westeros, Arya coldly suggests that he tried telling that to Sansa, revealing that her sister won't bend the knee to Daenerys. When Jon tells Arya to wait for him outside the city gates, she warns him that Daenerys knows who he really is and will view him as a threat due to his claim to the Iron Throne. Yeah, and that's great. He realizes that now. Yeah. Great. It just took the destruction of King's Landing for you to realize
Yeah,
that.
like
even,
really?
even though everybody told you.
Oh Lord.
I know. It's a little frustrating, but
Yeah. 5 years later.
yeah. Okay. Before she leaves, Arya tells Jon in reference to Daenerys that I know a killer when I see one.
Hmm.
And Jon
seriously.
visits Tyrion in prison. After asking Jon if he brought wine, Tyrion tells him that their queen doesn't keep prisoners for long, and that there's a supposedly a crude kind of justice. He then tells Jon that he had betrayed Varys and watched him burn to death, and now his ashes can tell his ashes, knowing his death is
Yeah.
certain. Tyrion asks Jon if there is life after death, and Jon tells him, "Not that I've seen." Grimly
Mm.
noting that oblivion is the best he could hope for. Tyrion goes over his past sins, including murdering both his lover and father and betraying their queen. When Jon tries to tell Tyrion he didn't, the dwarf insists he did, and that if he do it again, he'll now see what Daenerys is truly capable of. Before telling Jon, "I chose my fate. The people of King's Landing did not." Disturbed by what Daenerys did and is unable to justify it, Jon believes the war is over now. Any thoughts on this opening part of this scene between these two? Why the fuck did they let him in? I don't understand that. Right? I mean,
Well,
I know.
because they know the relationship between John and Daenerys. So
That's what they
it's like
think
I
so
think
far.
they just at this point they just don't see him as a threat that way.
She hasn't
And they're
said
just
anything really
like,
yet.
yeah.
I hear you, but this guy is a betrayer. Like, why would they allow him, knowing that he has a relationship with this person, to go in there and like talk to him? I just think that's a little. Not I get it. They need to get these scenes done. This is the last episode. Maybe these are things that doesn't matter at this point, right? Like you said, they did trust him at a certain point, and maybe they're not up to date on everything that's occurred. The rest of
Yeah,
the
they haven't
staff
gotten
here,
a direct
yeah,
order from Her Majesty.
right,
In 3 months.
right. Yeah, okay, so that's that. In response, Tyrion questions him, "Is it when you heard her talking to her soldiers, did she sound like someone who's done fighting?" He goes on to say, "She liberated the people of Slaver's Bay. She liberated the people of King's Landing, and she'll go on liberating until the people of the world are free and she rules them all." Jon angrily tells them that he has been counseling her, and Tyrion agrees, stating, "Varys was right. I was wrong. It was vanity to think I could guide her. Our queen's nature is fire and blood." Jon is upset by the notion that blood defines who they are, and tells him that Daenerys is not her father, as Tyrion is not his father. Tyrion admits that Tywin and Cersei were both evil, but reminds Jon that Daenerys has killed more people than Tywin, Cersei, and any of the evil people that they know. Jon tries to defend Daenerys, going over her various traumas, such as Missandei's execution,
He's such a nice
Rhaegal's
guy, eh?
death,
He's still trying.
and Cersei's actions, but Tyrion reminds him that she burned the King's Landing for it. He then forces Jon to pause when he asks, "Would you have done it?"
Yeah.
He tries to make Jon see that if he had been in the same place, knowing what it's like to be on Dragonback with that power, Jon wouldn't have done the same thing.
It's not,
Good points. Good
yeah.
points. Yeah, good
What do you
points.
say there in the thing too? Evil men die, and we cheer for her. That makes her head swell.
I'm just surprised that even in light of everything that's occurred, Jon's weird optimism in this moment in time, trying to convince him otherwise. I think it's only because he knows what he ends up like what he has to do. I think he's trying anything I think he knows this is all bullshit what he's telling him, right? And Tyrion keeps proving him wrong and time again with what he's saying, right?
No,
Christina,
I
what do
think
you
this
think?
is John being John. Like he is, like we mentioned time and time again, he's just loyal to a fault. He's honest, he's loyal. He keeps saying, how many times did he even say in this scene, "She's my queen. She's my queen." It's like, bro, okay, get over it. Like, we understand, but get over it, like
I think you're right. That's normally what like his go-to, and that is the character we know. But at the same time, I think this is what we're experiencing him lying for the first time ever in this moment to himself. Like I think he knows, like, because obviously we know what he goes off
yeah,
and
well,
does
he's
after this.
he's obviously it's
Yes.
shell shock. It's shock. He's in shock and he doesn't know what to make of it. And he's thinking that she has a proper explanation for it. And I think he really did. I don't think he knew what he was gonna do until he was alone with her and she kept talking about it and kept
This,
like she didn't see her own fault. Like, okay,
uh,
in the next scene, or you know what I mean? Like she didn't see her own fault.
well, I mean, like, I think he's still naive to the way that people, uh, that people aren't raised like he was with the Starks and everybody
Right.
being honest people, man. Because he's very like this whole 8 seasons, he's fucking been really naive to that whole theory. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of times gone by, and usually you eventually see that
Your
it's not.
mistakes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he just kept wanting to believe so badly that everybody's like he was raised in his family and like his dad beliefs and shit like that, right? I mean, like it's not, it's not right. I feel bad for the guy because it's just he's mind fucked that way just to be a nice guy, and he's still trying to give her the benefit of the doubt.
I mean, it certainly did complicate things when he found out that she's his aunt. I mean, like, let's be honest.
Now it makes some blood, yeah.
I think
so-
if she was just
but I
someone
mean-
that he was in love with, that's one thing. But then he found out that he's related to her and that he's the rightful king. I think
Like,
that threw
it's hard-
a
yeah, it's
wrench
hard to
in
kill
his
your own
plans,
family after,
right?
right, too? yeah, I believe so too. Yeah,
But you're right. Even more, there's even more of a reason than at that point that he should have done the right thing and like taken matters into his own hands here at this time, which he
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
But yeah, it took him a long while to get there.
yeah. Fuck.
Realizing that Jon doesn't want to betray Daenerys, Tyrion goes over her history of killing evil men and how everyone supported her for it.
Yeah,
But she grew more and more powerful, more convinced of her rightness. Tyrion then reveals that Daenerys is convinced it is her destiny to make the world better for everyone and will do whatever it takes to build the ideal world she wants, no matter how many must die to make it come to reality. He reasons with a tortured Jon, telling him, I know you love her. I love her too. Not as successfully as you, but I believed in her with all my heart. Love is more powerful than reason. Recalling Master Aemon's words, Jon reflects, love is the death of duty.
yeah. Well, look at
Which-
Jamie. I mean,
well,
like
no,
fucking.
look at
No,
Robb,
love is more powerful than reason.
but that's what did Robin.
Well, that's also
Yeah.
what
Brother.
did. Yeah, but
That's-
that's also what did fucking thing in, isn't it? What did Jamie in? To be honest.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
we know
I
that.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, we know that. But
It's
But that's-
disgusting what you would do when in love, like
Right.
what the things that you would do and
Well,
the
John says a good one too because he says love is the love. What did he say here? He
love
says,
is the death of duty.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's it. You
it
know,
kind of blinds you to puts blinders on a lot of the
Yeah.
other shit that's going on,
it's like being
right?
a horse.
Like-
in a
100%.
fucking race,
and
right?
again, I think that was said back when that shit happened with Rob because he lost the war because like he ended up because he was he all he cared about was his new lady, right?
it's
like
always about the vagine.
So...
Sorry, we used the c word back in the old one, but we're going to use that now. And Nico's favorite word was going off with that, and it was moist. Okay.
yeah, we did talk about that on that old episode.
Now she's disgusted. I was disgusted last
I
time.
hate that word.
Yeah.
I hate that word
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, we could do some ASMR here.
I had to.
So yes, to which Tyrion agrees. The dwarf says that sometimes duty must be the
Dwarf.
death of love and tells Jon, you are the shield that guards the realms of men. You've already tried to do the right thing no matter the cost. You tried to protect the people before asking who is the greatest threat to the people now. Tyrion acknowledges that assassinating Daenerys is a terrible thing he's asking Jon to do, but says it's also the right thing.
You are the shield, eh?
Yeah.
That's a big line.
As Jon struggles with the idea of killing the woman he loves, Tyrion says that he won't be the last man she executes and asks who is more dangerous than the rightful heir to the Iron Throne.
Yeah.
Jon accepts being executed by Daenerys if that is her choice and apologizes to Tyrion that it came to this, but the latter tries again, and he reveals that both Sansa and Arya won't bend the knee, which would put all of House Stark in great danger.
Mhm.
Jon insists that his sisters will be loyal to the throne, but Tyrion responds that the reason Sansa told him that his parentage is because she doesn't want Daenerys to be queen. Jon says that it's not up to Sansa, and Tyrion agrees, but he tells Jon he needs to make a choice, telling him, and you have to choose now. Jon then leaves with a rattled look.
Yeah, he said he couldn't do it, man. You know, I was debating in that whole scene there. I was like, what the fuck is he gonna do? What the fuck is he gonna do? I was antsy.
I think he knows what he has to do here. He's made up his mind, but he just doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Like he's just
He
being
just want to
stubborn.
admit to it.
Yeah.
You
so
know.
it's a means to an end, right? So,
Yeah. I mean.
I think he was I still think he was unsure, like going into seeing her. I think he was maybe hoping to see a remorseful Daenerys,
Right.
a more humbled, what did I do? I went overboard. How can I fix this? Like, but she was going on like the same, and he was like, no, this has got to end. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Troubled, he walks through the ruins of the Red Keep from under the snow. We see Drogon appear. The dragon comes
Came
face
out of
to
nowhere.
face
That
with
freaked me
Jon
out.
before going back to sleep. This was a cool visual. I liked
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, this was cool.
It cost him 2 episodes worth of money, but yeah.
He's a little tired from battle here. You know,
You
he's
know?
like curled up
Yeah.
in the snow,
Let's
sleeping.
just curl up in the snow.
Yeah.
Catnap.
I liked that.
I
so.
would scare the shit out of me if it just opened up like that and you didn't know it was there. And
Yeah.
John didn't even fucking flinch.
Yeah.
That's balls of steel right there.
Meanwhile, Daenerys comes to the throne room and sees the Iron Throne for the first time in her life. The same thing that she saw in the House of the Undying years ago, like when I guess she had that vision that she was gonna sit on the throne one day, right?
Fuck.
So
Mhm.
yeah, that happened. She is visibly overwhelmed by her emotions since to conquer this throne has been her lifelong dream. In awe, she goes to touch the throne as John appears. And like Christina
best is-
mentioned, she doesn't actually successfully sit on it during this scene because she has to tell him a tale of her youth.
Yeah, of course.
When I was
About
a little
all the
girl.
swords,
Yeah.
about all the little swords, the thousands of swords. But it's just funny how there's no wall behind it. It's just the throne and survived that fucking whole room. It looks like it was nuts, man, to see that.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, but the graphic in behind it was just the fucking sky.
Mhm.
You know,
Because the
But,
whole thing, the whole castle is gone. Like it's all torn
Yeah.
down. Like
It's
it's
Yeah.
devastated. Fuck.
Yeah.
It's not safe to walk through.
Okay, so basically in awe she goes to touch it as John appears. Seeing him, Daenerys tells him that when she was a child, her brother Viserys would tell her that it was made from the 1,000 swords of the fallen enemies of Aegon the Conqueror, and asked John, what do 1,000 swords look like in the mind of a little girl who can't count to 20? Before telling him, I imagine a mountain of swords too high to climb. So many fallen enemies, you could only see the soles of Aegon's feet. John confronts her over Grey Worm executing the Lannister prisoners in the streets, but Daenerys defends it as necessary. This caused John to protest, saying, necessary? Have you been down there? Have you seen children, little children, burned?
oh, that was really powerful, Nico.
Yeah,
you should
yeah,
be the
like
next
that.
Jon Snow.
Yeah, seriously.
Necessary? Was it necessary to burn children in the streets?
But isn't it funny? I always think it's funny. Like he's like yelling, but he's not. He's like whispering at the same time.
Yeah.
He's like the children.
I just love that she's so gleeful in this moment, reminiscing about her childhood.
Yeah.
And
Right.
he's like, there's children burning in the streets. He like runs up.
Yeah, he yells at her.
No,
man.
but it's true. He's
Yeah.
just like, what the fuck? Are you so diluted? You don't know. And just like, she's
No.
not like, she doesn't care. Like,
She's-
she
Yeah.
just cares about the throne. Like, it kind of speaks to
what Tyrion
how far
said.
gone she is in this moment.
But also
too.
what
Like,
Tyrion said.
no, but there's the madness that I think
Yeah.
that's overtaken her.
Oh,
here.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
It's
her
in the
fault.
blood,
Yeah,
man.
it's like it's everything. It's the madness. It's the thirst for power. It's
Right.
now she can conquer anything and everything because look, she's taken everything that she's ever wanted, and yeah, she's so delusional. Like she's in Delulu land.
Right.
And because of that,
So yeah, that happens.
I can't go there. I can't go there. Go on.
Daenerys responding back saying she tried to make peace with Cersei, but she used their innocence against her and thought she, playing the victim now, and
Yeah,
thought she
of
would have
course.
crippled by she would have been crippled by her. John urges
Oh, yeah.
Daenerys to forgive Tyrion and the people of King's Landing, who she's ordered to be executed, and pleaded her to make them see that they made a mistake and to make them understand she isn't the person that she is. However, Daenerys says she can and is resolved, stating, we can't give in to small mercies. She rallies. John urges her
It's
that
a
they
low
would need
shot.
a world of mercy, but Daenerys tries to convince John that her way is the way to the better world. A distressed John asks her how she knows, and she assures him it's because she knows what is good, and gently tells him that so does he. John tearfully says he doesn't know and asks, what about everyone else? All the other people who think they know what's good. Daenerys simply replies, they don't get to choose.
She's your fucking judge, juror, executioner right there.
Daenerys embraces
Bitch.
John.
It's a
and-
god syndrome, no?
Yeah, God complex.
Or whatever.
And
yeah.
sincere, she tells him to join her and that she wants him to keep, help her break the wheel. Trying to convince him of her new vision, heartbroken, John declares, you are my queen, now and always. They kiss, and as they do so, in anguish, John drives his dagger through her heart. Stunned, Daenerys collapses as John catches her. She dies in John's arm as he weeps over her body.
I was like shocked.
Were you shocked at this?
Were
I
you
was
shocked?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, kind of. I didn't know what was going on because they started making out, and then all of a sudden, he's just holding her, it stopped for a second. It was a good scene. Don't get me wrong.
I wasn't very surprised. I think the
I
first
didn't
time
know what he
around
was
when
gonna
this was
do.
gonna happen.
He was
Yeah.
very convincing. He was very convincing
Okay.
with with the whole Tyrion thing. I knew he was thinking about stuff, and he knew in his head what was going on, but I didn't know if he was gonna act on it. I didn't know if he was gonna be that person. And then I took into account that he is blood related too now, so that played a big part. I thought maybe in his head, but I mean, blood isn't always thicker than water, right?
Mhm.
You know, it's more about the people that raise you than anything else. See, he thought about his sisters, I think,
So you were
in
truly
that moment.
shocked by this
I was.
development here. Okay.
I was, and to be honest with you, I mean, like I said, I was surprised. I thought, I mean, I know that the evil ones always have to die and stuff like that, but I mean, I thought she had at least one more fight in there to try or something, or there was something gonna happen. But yeah, I was surprised because it just it didn't start off when they walked in like that was gonna happen.
But looking at it from that perspective and knowing that he kills her here, though, you could tell that he was trying to give her one final out
Yeah,
to
he was trying to
convince
get
her
her to,
otherwise. Like,
seriously
and when she was so
deluded.
yeah, and just like they don't get to choose. We're right. We're good. We're the good people. Blah blah blah.
And he
He's just
started like tearing up.
well,
Too,
that's
yeah.
why he kind of kissed her goodbye there.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, fuck, I can't, you can't, like, yeah, that I have to, right?
That's
Like,
why that's why I was saying, like, I don't think he was convinced entirely that what he was going to do was that when he walked into the room. I
well,
think he wanted to hear what she had to say first.
Yeah, like I
right.
mean, he even
Well, to
said
You know,
James'
it's starting
but
a new
point, it could have
world.
went either way. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. You're right. I guess I didn't see it that way, but she left him no choice, right?
no,
So,
she didn't. And it, like, I want to say that I was shocked that this happened at the time. And I think I might have maybe was shocked. But when you really think about it, you're like, no, this had to happen. Like, I mean, yeah, like her dying had to happen because she was just going to go on killing. Like,
I don't know how shocked I was at the time. I mean, in my
yeah,
mind,
see,
I
yeah.
don't know. I don't
I
know.
mean, her falling off a dragon or something like that and dying wouldn't have shocked me as much. This was more of a shocker because the way they stood at the room by the thing, and they were talking about,
and
they
it
were
was,
just
and because it was John that served the final blow here, yeah.
yeah. I mean, that was a kind of a well-deserved thing too.
Right.
So but in a sense because of the
Right.
whole history and the family and
What I liked about this scene this time around is also like about the like the symbolism of the throne and what it kind of means. Like even in this, and then like what we're about to see directly following this is when Drogon comes and he scoops her up in his arms and flies off with her because his mother now has died, and just him looking at the throne, and even this dragon knows that it's brought nothing but trouble. Like this throne, like he lost his mother as a result of her greed of wanting to
it's just the evil
sit
throne,
on
man.
there, right? So
This,
like,
yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, I think this, again, this scene, like this episode was rushed. I don't think they really thought about, I mean, they say that the dragons are smart and stuff, but I know you haven't really like seen described this like
Yeah.
this scene yet, Nico, but like we're talking about it. So I don't know. I just think like this was so out of um this was just so out of character, even for Drogon. This was just so out of sequence. Like it just didn't. Uh, Again, I understand why they had to like. Okay,
Right.
nobody sits on the Iron Throne, and the symbolism for that. But because it's such an evil like thing, look what it's done to mankind. But I don't.
You didn't like it. I was gonna ask you because I even wrote it down here. Although I did like it, like I said, I liked the idea of it. I was also I did write down in a note here, and maybe this is what you're feeling. I wrote the melting of the throne a bit on the nose, like this whole kind of like all of a sudden like he comes out of nowhere and does that, right? Like a bit like. You know what I mean? Like it kind of bullshitty in a way. You know what I mean? Like like a cheesy kind of thing, kind of. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
But I guess you can understand it. If you really sat back to think about
I
it.
kind of like it, but I also can acknowledge that you know what I mean? Like
It makes people crazy. Maybe
Yeah.
Drogon was around when no, he wasn't around. But I mean, like I mean, it made her father crazy. You know what I mean?
Right, and maybe there's an energy in
Coming
the
from that.
throne because it's made from all those swords from a Targaryen like conqueror. I don't know, maybe there's an energy in it that he just didn't like, but it just seems like so out of character, especially because like he would never just randomly blow fire at something. Like he was always given a direction, and now, okay, maybe out of like emotion, he's like hurling fire, but it's like it just seems really
I
misdirected
didn't know
and
what he was gonna do to John though. Like
that was a little scary, but
yeah,
him not burning him is kind of like, okay, like I
there's still the
understand because
blood.
he's a Targaryen, right? Like
Yeah,
he knows he's a
you could
Targaryen,
smell him.
so
You could smell him.
That's the only
yeah,
thing that saved him.
Yeah.
And also
yeah,
he didn't witness him kill her, but I think he kind of got the idea
Yeah,
there.
he understood.
But
I think.
but also I think
But he might have
but she's
understood
kind of
John.
right.
That
Like, are we
burned the
supposed to
fucking
give the
thing down.
dragon that much credit at this point in time?
You don't know. They're still creatures. Come on, man.
But they
They're
didn't.
very smart.
He's done some smart things throughout the series, but they also never really delved that much into it where we're supposed to be thinking that, he knows the symbolism of the throne and everything else. Yeah, I you can get me there with it. I see what Christina's saying, I think, a little bit here and there. Yeah, it's kind of
there was
I think
it,
we're giving him too much credit now, I feel like, at this point in time, right? Like, it's just like, yeah, like he knew all that. I do like that he knew when she was dead, though, like that they had that
yes,
connection. And like he knew right
yes,
away, like something was wrong, and
Yeah.
he shows up, right?
Yeah.
Like that's cool.
that was cool.
I like the idea that there's a connection between them in that
Yeah.
sense, right? And we don't we never know where he takes her. Like he
No,
flies
he
off, and
takes
that's
off.
the last
Yeah,
of it.
that's it.
Yeah,
There are
right,
so
right.
many theories about that,
Right.
so
Did
we
he
can
eat her?
like
Right.
Did he eat her? No, I even wrote as the scene was playing out when he stabbed her. I even wrote, "What the fuck? He just stabbed her? Nice." I even wrote it on the fucking thing
Right.
as I was watching it.
Also,
nice.
there is theories about that, right? See, like in a
Yeah.
world where resurrection exists,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Like, could he have taken her off somewhere to save her? Was she actually dead?
Yeah.
I think
dead,
she was
fuck her.
dead, but
Okay.
I think if they were gonna do a sequel to like Jon Snow sequel, I think that they would have ended the season 1 with like a resurrected Dany. Here we go with the theories, like let's rewatch this in 10 years, when Snow is like whatever.
Yeah. Well,
But
it's kind of fun to think of that, though, because like in Game of Thrones, as I've told Jay, unless you see the body, unless there's some finality, like some unless you know for a fact that character is gone. It was like even with the Hound, like we thought he was dead for a season or two, and then he just shows up, right? Like that we didn't actually get that closure with him taking her away, right? Like, I mean, obviously they're supposed to highlight the fact that he's sad and he was taking his mother away. Maybe he was gonna bury her. Who the fuck knows, right? It's right, but the dragons never talked about the rest of the episode, and there's a time jump, and it's never mentioned. He just left. He's just gone, right? Like,
I mean, like he nudges her and smells her and maybe
Right.
understands that that she's no longer breathing and alive. Like
but he
anybody, even if
reacted
they're-
instead of him just like taking off himself, he
Yeah.
took her and
Yeah.
left, and
Yeah.
they haven't spotted him since. So it's like, where did he take her?
it's a big what if to kind of throw, like, honestly, to leave us with. It is.
It's one of the things, it's one of the cliffhangers that they left this series open for. There's so many different like cliffhangers that they left the series.
right.
There's one theory, like we're talking about, like the red woman, and like where did she come from, like in all of her people and her training, and like the band of witches like brings
Right.
people back to, like, because there's that whole Lord of Light that conversation that was so big in the earlier seasons that kind of died off as Stannis died off and things started to die off, and Melisandre was gone. Jay, your favorite character. So it's like, where did she come from, right? So it's like she
Right.
must have come from somewhere. So there's a lot of theories that like that's where
Right.
Drogon took her, was
And-
there.
And it ends with a question about dragons, and the next show we get is about dragons. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
Even though
they're
it's a prequel, but yeah.
I know.
yeah, and then they're gonna jump 120 years,
No, but
and you're gonna see this scene.
Maybe there's some dragon ability that we're not aware of that they're going to show in House of the Dragon, right?
Maybe if
Maybe.
you want to really dive deep into that theory.
Well,
that's
stay
a weird one.
tuned. We will be
Stay
talking
tuned.
about that. Yeah.
We'll
never
recap
know. I
this
mean-
again in 10 more years.
Maybe the dragon flies back in the future and brings her back home.
Drogon then arrives from behind as a grieving Jon holds Daenerys' body while snow falls. When the dragon approaches, he carefully lays her
Mhm.
down, and Drogon tries to wake his mother up to no avail. Upon knowing that she is dead, a rageful Drogon faces Jon, who prepares for the dragon's flames. Waiting for his impending death as Drogon roars and breathes in fire several directions in grief. However, Drogon does not kill Jon. Instead, he channels his rage toward the Iron Throne and melts it down. He proceeds to gently pick up his mother's body and flies away in the gloomy sky, still bellowing in grief. So there you go. So here we go. So here's now you haven't really expressed too much displeasure yet, Christina. So I'm guessing that the part that you're not gonna like is coming up here. And if I had some nitpicks about this episode, this is where it begins as well. Other than the Tyrion scene where we seen that horrible crying. But anyways,
Do we have to recap this?
Yes,
Can we
we
just
have
skip
to.
over it? Oh
We have
my
to, we have to,
God.
okay. Weeks later, okay, the Great Council reconvenes. Grey Worm escorts a disheveled and grimy Tyrion to the Dragon Pit. Sansa, Bran, Arya, Yara, Brienne, Davos, Gendry, Sam, Jon Royce, Robin, Aaron, who's grown up quite a bit since the last time that we've seen him, Edmure Tully, and the new Prince of Dorne, who we don't really even get introduced to, but you could tell he's from Dorne because of the way he's dressed. Yeah, are all present there. Jon is also in prison for regicide, but he's not brought forth along with Tyrion. When Sansa asks Grey Worm where Jon is, as Jon was supposed to be brought along with Tyrion, the Unsullied commander replies that he decides what to do with their prisoners and that the King's Landing is their city now. First of all, how fucking dare they time jump this?
This is a big time jump, man.
And not
Holy
only
fuck.
that, how the fuck is Jon alive? Okay, like, come on now. Like, you telling me that they imprisoned him? They chose to imprison Jon?
Well, he could have just
after-
said somebody killed her. Nobody watched it.
No. They knew he killed her. They talk about it. They talk about it in this episode. As mad as Grey Worm is, he's aware that he killed her. And, like, he forever holds a grudge. Like, and that's, like, where they leave it. Like, anyways, yeah, okay, we're gonna get into it. But this is, again, with the speeding up of this season, this is something that could have used another episode. Like, getting from point A to point B of this like, time jump here, honestly.
Yeah, it's so contradictory. It's like you were just in the streets slitting Lannister throats for no reason, but now somebody who actually killed your queen, you're just gonna
Right.
like, oh, okay, let's just imprison him. For what? Like, for why?
I think this is one of the biggest insults to honestly, this show, the fans, right here. This is a travesty. It's a bit of a travesty, this kind of, honestly, that they didn't explain or show us any of that.
Yeah, I didn't think of it.
Right?
That they knew that he killed him. I knew that it was a prisoner, but I didn't know why.
That's kind of bullshit. I gotta call out.
How much time did they jump? Right? I even wrote in brackets. Yeah,
weeks. He's got a beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got
had to
dirty
been-
ass
yeah.
fucking beards in this scene.
You know, like so.
Anyways,
And they
so,
needed
yeah.
time for
Everybody to
Bran
get there for council.
to like wheel himself down from Winterfell. So like obviously it took
Took a long
time.
time, yeah, man.
They don't have airplanes.
Hey,
3-hour flight.
we have ravens.
Okay, so you see the council here. They're
Three
pissed that they
eyes.
didn't bring out Jon. Not appeased by this, Sansa warns them that there are thousands of Northmen outside the city gate, and as a result, harming Jon wouldn't be in Grey Worm's interest. However, meanwhile, everyone's just been sitting around for weeks, just
Yeah.
you know.
But now all of a
been
sudden
waiting.
it's like touch one hair on his head and we'll kill you all. It's like, oh, okay, where have you been?
It's kind of bullshit. Anyways, all right. So, however,
What
Grey
was
Worm-
okay? Wait, before we continue, what was nice though, one positive point to this was that we saw all the leaders
Yes,
and or the last standing people for each house, like, which was nice to see.
I'm not opposed to a council scene. I actually like that part
Yeah.
of this, but
Yeah.
I just don't like the passage of time
Yeah.
with little to no
There was a lot.
explanation. And honestly, like the stupidity, which we're gonna get to, of Grey Worm just being okay with politics all of a sudden. Like he's like, fine, you guys decide that. He just doesn't care. Like, what is that?
This whole, oh my god, this whole episode, just like
Wait, Tyrion's got some good talks, man. Like, I mean, he talked his way out of a good scenario
He
here.
always does, yeah,
You know?
absolutely. But okay,
Oh, yeah.
continue.
let's unpack
Continue.
this. Yeah, let's unpack this. Okay, so not appeased by this, Sansa warns them there are thousands of Northmen outside the city gate, and as a result, harming Jon wouldn't be in his best interest. However, Grey Worm responds in equal measure, saying there are also thousands of Unsullied as well.
Yeah.
Yara sides with him because the Ironborn agreed to follow Daenerys, causing Sansa to accuse her of agreeing to follow a tyrant. In response, the latter disdainfully states that Daenerys freed all of Westeros from a tyrant, that Cersei is gone because of her, and Jon put a knife through her heart. See, they're aware that he did it. Yara demanded Sansa that she allow the Unsullied to execute Jon, but Arya coldly warns her not to say another word about killing her brother and threatens to cut her throat. Davos diffuses the situation as he does, saying they've had enough of cutting each other's throats. He gives Grey Worm's
like
men credit. Yeah, he is. He gives Grey Worm's men credit for their aid in the war against the undead, and if it weren't for them, they would have lost. He suggests that Grey Worm and the Unsullied should take land in the Reach and start their own house, stating, "We've had enough war, thousands of you, thousands of them. You know how it ends. We need to find a better way." I like what he has to say here in this scene. Yeah, it makes a lot of
Yes.
sense. Like
He's
that
made
makes,
it this far. Fuck.
The
you gotta
Onion
say
Knight.
something smart.
it makes sense that they need to move. They have to move forward at this point in time to like
Yes.
survive as a race. Like that all makes sense. I get that.
Yeah.
You know, again, I don't think Jon would have survived that ordeal despite his contributions with everything that he's done after killing their queen, especially because of the way Grey Worm feels about him even now. Like, I just don't see him not doing something about that personally. That's my biggest gripe, I think, about this. And also, no explanation. Like, if you were going to tell us a way that he got out of it or agreed for them not to kill him, at least show us.
Maybe they're just keeping him around to suffer, man. Like,
But they didn't show us. They didn't explain it. They didn't
just
show
him
us.
with the beard, and that's really what they did. Yeah.
And this is a show where they've always taken that time to show us what has occurred in this world and the story, and they did not do that here. They're just like, we're too lazy to explain what happened in these weeks, and we don't have enough time because this is the last episode. That's what it felt like. It was like a big fuck you in a way.
It was very quick.
Right?
Yes.
So that's, I think, some of the fans were pissed about that. Myself included, right?
Here we go.
Okay. Rejecting Davos's suggestion, Grey Worm states that they do not need payment, but justice for Daenerys' assassination, and insists Jon cannot go free. Though Grey Worm tries to force Tyrion into silence, the latter nevertheless reminds him that he does not get to decide Jon's fate, since it rests with their new king. When it's pointed out that there isn't one, Tyrion says that as the most powerful lords and ladies gather, they can pick one from their number. Grey Worm relents and tells the assembly to decide the new ruler. They start looking at each other until Edmure Tully rises from the seat and starts to give a speech, putting himself forward for the position, but is cut short by Sansa, who sternly asks him to sit down.
Just sit.
Visibly embarrassed by this, Edmure sat back down on his chair. That was a pretty funny part. Sam,
What
familiar
balls,
with the vote,
eh?
yeah. Sam, familiar with the voting system for the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, suggests that the new ruler should be chosen by everyone through a vote.
That's so cool, man. It's
kind
like
of democracy. Yeah. It's kind of like the early, but the funnier part is the follow up where everyone just starts laughing at him, like, yeah. Should the animals get a vote too?
Yeah,
and all this.
my pig, my cow, my horse.
Not only lords, but all the people of the kingdom. That is met with scornful laughter from almost everyone. With
Poor
Edmure
Jon. I mean, poor Sam. He always gets laughed at by everybody.
and Lord Yon comparing the idea of giving votes to the small folk with giving votes to horses and dogs. But kind of a nod to the democratic kind of vote, right, by the people, you know.
When they had to add politics right in the end, fucking bullshit. Hey.
I was gonna say that too. It's kind of weird, right? Let's choose to bring real world shit into it.
Let's just make it like real life now. All of a sudden,
right?
This is the starting of real life and the map.
But that's what I mean. The liberties that they took in this episode, like some of this shit. Yeah. Yes.
Before,
Christine, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just for the viewers out there, before we started this episode, my name was not Lady Christina. It was Christina the Underwhelmed. And I changed it because, I'm trying not to be negative, but Lord.
there's some choices made in this episode that weren't great. Yeah, I agree.
Awful.
Yeah,
Even watching it for the third or fourth time, like this episode, oh my god, it's still
Is it
like
is it this whole second half though when they time jump? More so this half, right? In the
yes.
episode, yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yes,
I
more
Right-
so
agree.
right
this
here.
half. The other half was like, okay, fine, it makes sense. It has to continue the rest of the story. This could have been done so differently. The whole ending could have been done so differently.
It almost felt like they didn't have an idea of how to wrap this up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they
No,
were too
really.
concerned with Star Wars. Anyway, sorry, go. Keep going.
Oh,
Some of the people that were
Yeah.
on this went and worked on.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay,
they were.
okay.
Yeah. Anyways,
so they stuck around so long.
Which is
when
also a
Tyrion-
flop. But go on.
yes. When Tyrion is told that perhaps he wants the crown himself, he disagrees as he is hated by half the people for serving Daenerys and the other half for betraying her. When Davos asks who he thinks should be king, Tyrion responds that stories unite people and are powerful things. Proposing an elective monarchy, he concludes, and who has a better story than Bran the Broken.
He knows everything.
JT's boy.
My boy.
Look at Christina.
I told you something had to do with him. I don't know where I
And
got
you know what
that.
really
They
ticked
did
me
call
off?
that, Yeah.
You know
What?
what really fucking ticked me off? Bran's response. Why do you think I came all this
I
way?
know.
I know.
I know. I wrote it down. I fucking wrote that down. I was like, oh, now
Well,
you're fucking
They
yeah,
pushed
yeah.
him around in a chair the whole time, man. Like the poor
Bro,
guy.
but this
he didn't even get to
whole
stand up.
This whole time he's like, I am
he's-
no one.
he
I am
acts
no
for
one.
nothing. Yeah, he wants for nothing. Like he's just like,
But
yeah,
he's the history
don't even
book.
worry about me. I got my own thing going on. And then all of a sudden he's like, of course it was predestined.
Why do you
Fuck
think I
you.
came all this way? Like,
You
what
should
the
play the
hell are you
lottery.
talking about?
He should play the lottery if he knew that.
A boy pushed from the tower who couldn't walk but learned to fly.
That's
The,
right.
the crippled boy who crossed the wall and became the three-eyed raven. He's all of our memory. Who better to lead us to the future? Sansa objects it by mentioning that Bran cannot father any children, to which
She's such
Tyrion
a bitch.
replies that it is good, since sons of kings are often vain and cruel, as she well knows. Yeah, I
Leave-
know. She's
I know.
like,
Leave it to a sister to talk about her brother's lack of the bedroom skills.
Yeah. Like she
can't
knows.
fuck. What are we talking about?
I know. I like how she did that. Though. She's like, I love you, but.
But, yeah.
You
Don't
What a
get me
sister.
wrong.
She's
Yeah,
such
don't
a
get me
sister.
wrong. Yeah. Holy fuck! It's like
yeah,
just
that
shut
was-
up. You know.
Basically, so then he's
Well, I
like,
thought there was another twist to this after this part. I have to tell
Right.
you guys.
referring to the cruelty and sadism of Joffrey Baratheon, like that she endured, essentially, basically saying like, look at that. Like, was that such a good thing? Like, maybe it's better that he can't have a child, right?
Yeah.
He then asks Bran whether he will accept the crown, even though he does not want it. To which Bran replies, "Why do you think I came all this way?" Tyrion waits for the actions of the other leaders. All of them slowly start saying "aye" one by one, showing that they
Aye.
accept Bran as their new king.
They barely talk to him ever.
However, Sansa, of course, has to have the last word
Oh, I
here.
know, I know.
Is hesitant about this and states to her younger brother that
Fucking
while she
gingers.
believes he will be a good king, the North will once again be an independent kingdom. Bran gives his assent to her request and wants Tyrion to be his hand, but Grey Worm objects, saying that Tyrion has to atone for his sins, to which Bran reveals that Tyrion has made a lot of mistakes and he will spend the rest of his life rectifying them, but Grey Worm is still unsatisfied. This kind of makes sense, I guess. Like the way this all rolled out, I guess. But then he was also like, "But I'm king. You have to listen to me now."
I mean, I thought there was gonna be a twist in that. Like, I thought Tyrion had a plan, like maybe to help get Jon out of there, and and do this and that, and not even get him out of there, but help him, give him the throne or something. That's where I thought it was going. At that
But
moment,
John does not want it.
I know he doesn't. The whole
Don't
fucking
want
series.
it.
He's been persistent.
Tyrion pays a visit to a dejected Jon in prison and informs them that to placate everyone, a compromise has been reached and that he is going to the Night's Watch.
Poor guy.
Hold on. Okay. Are you a fan of this this outcome for Jon or not? Were you guys a
Well,
fan of this?
technically, he's still a bastard if you think about it, because there's no other Targaryens around.
He's not a bastard. Like has royal blood, but that's besides the point.
Right.
Like, I mean, like, I don't know. Am I satisfied? No. Am I satisfied with any decision that is made from this last like 15, 20 minutes? No.
But do you remember the
So,
oath to the Night's Watch? And you're always a part of the
so,
Night's Watch, man.
so I remember not loving what happened to John, but this time around, I gotta admit, I kind of thought it was some awesome irony, and like ironic fucking moment that he ends up having to
Full
go
circle.
back to the go back to the Night's Watch. I kind of liked it this time around because like when he got
It
there,
makes
and he just-
sense.
yeah, like when he
Well-
got there and like the wall opened up and he just groaned. He's like, ah, here we go again.
But I also feel like
Because this is not a
No.
forgiving world like this world.
I
You know what I
know.
mean? So like he did nothing wrong. He did all the right fucking moves this whole time. Yet he's being punished for it
Well,
at the
you know-
end. Out of everyone. He's just like but I think he finds some peace at the end. But I love the irony of this time around. I gotta say, out of every decision here in these final scenes, I love that John kind of had to go back to the Night's Watch. I don't know about you guys, but I thought it was kind of ironic and
It's the only
funny.
thing that would have made sense. It's the only decision
Right.
that was going to make sense for the ending. So it's like,
Because he
fine,
didn't want to be
we'll
king.
take
He's
it.
made that very
No.
fucking clear. If he turned around and became king after all this, I would call bullshit. I'd be like, get the fuck out of here, right? Like, even though he would be a great king, I don't agree with Bran becoming king either. But like, you know what I mean? Like,
why not?
yeah,
Who would have thought?
Because he was nobody this whole series.
right.
He kept repeating that to everybody. I am no one. I don't want to.
He's
I
no
am
one
not-
and everyone at the same time.
Right. So it's like, if you're no one, how can you be
Right.
King Bran
Yeah.
the Broken? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
hell.
Yeah. He's broken. He shouldn't be a king. Sorry.
I mean, they said
hate
that. All
this.
hail Bran the Broken. Who would have
Hate
thought
it.
that the next throne would have been a fucking wheelchair? Who would have thought that? And a Targaryen style wheelchair. If you don't remember, because it was built after the one from Valerian
Yeah, he's already
Targaryen
he's-
back then. Remember?
He's
Oh
already
my
su-
god.
Who would have thought the next throne? And you know what? No, but they left that open. They left that John thing open. That, you know what? Maybe R.L. or the writer, what's his name? Martin.
Did you just almost say R.L.
Yeah, I don't
Stein?
know why I
You
was going that
fucking
way.
idiot.
George.
He created Goosebumps.
Yes. Okay. You know. I know. I don't know where that came from, but you know what I'm saying. It left it for him to. You know, if he wanted to finish off the story, John never really left Winterfell. I mean, he's still up in the
So-
fucking north.
So Tyrion, he tells him this, that he's going back to the Night's Watch, which Jon had presumed was disbanded following the extinction of the White Walkers. Tyrion explains that while the purpose of the Night's Watch was served, it continues to serve as a quarantine for the banished, poor, and unfortunate. Sansa and Arya wanted Jon to be pardoned, while the Unsullied wanted his head. The compromise that King Bran made makes neither party happy, but both have no choice but to accept it, with Sansa and Arya understanding that Bran needs to make peace. Jon shakily asks, was it right, what I did? But Tyrion corrects him by saying what they did. However, Jon responds that killing Daenerys doesn't feel right, and Tyrion tells him to ask him again in 10 years. However, Jon believes they won't ever see each other again, but Tyrion is not so sure. Which I kind of liked. I like that they kind of left that up in the air, too. He's like,
That was another open-ended, like,
right.
you know,
I
ask me
liked
again in
that.
10 years. And it's like,
liked
wink,
that.
wink,
It's
you
5
know?
years
I
later.
liked that.
We
I
got
like
another
that.
5 more to go.
Just like Christina's talking about, we're going to get together in 10 years and talk about House of the
There you go. There might be another continuation to this one. You never know.
A few years as Hand of the King would make anyone want to piss off the edge of the world, is what he said. So I didn't mind this. I you know, listen, it's not, you know, what I would have decided for him, but I actually kind of like the irony of this. In this, let me just go over a couple of notes I wrote down here. I wrote, Titty Boy grew up, where Robin Aaron. He grew up here. I know you, that's what you used to like calling him there, Jay.
The titty boy.
Yeah, titty boy.
I liked Davos when he's like, I'm not sure I even get a vote, but I.
He's
a
like,
good
I
one.
don't know. We're still
Yeah.
here. He came all the way.
Yeah. But yeah, I also liked, you know, about him like deciding. He's like, you know, right away he makes decisions. Bran, he's just like, yes, I can. I am the king now.
If Bran's the king, right, and the North wants to stay independent, does that mean he goes back up to the North and the kings are in the North now?
No.
King is in the North.
No, they stay in there in King's Landing.
Oh,
right?
okay.
I just wrote down here. John could
They
have
gotta
had
make
it.
it wheelchair accessible.
I just wrote here. John could have had it all. Instead, he's banished to the Night's Watch. Right. So. All right. A defeated John is shown leaving King's Landing as he is brought to the port so he
Poor
can
Jon.
set sail for Castle Black. The city is busting with people again, with much of the city having been rebuilt. As John passes Grey Worm's ship, their eyes meet as Grey Worm gives him a fierce look, showing that he'll never forgive John for killing Daenerys. Grey Worm then takes the Unsullied and sails for the island of Noth, keeping his promise to Missandei of protecting her people.
Nice.
But that cut eye though, he's
yeah.
just like, "Fuck you, Jon Snow."
Yeah, but you can do it. He's just there.
Oh
There's
man.
got to be a picture, a snapshot of that somewhere online. Fuck. Just looking at it.
Then you get a quick scene of Sansa, Arya, and King Bran meeting John at the harbor before he leaves.
Yeah. See you later,
And, and
sucker.
and the only thing I would have said here that I wrote down was like, if I was John, I would just, as I'm hugging her, like at Sansa, like, and I'll be like, how the fuck did I get fucked over here? Like, what,
I mean, I
what
think he
occurred
wanted to
here?
be. I think he wants to be a Night's Watchman, man. I just think that's his blood.
It looks like he found some sort of peace by the end. It's
Mhm.
true, because then he was back with Ghost and everything. Like, but
yeah,
like,
he didn't have to worry about all the bullshit, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
that
it's a
was going
different.
on.
There's a different reason to because
a
when
different vibe
when
when you're
Tyrion
protecting.
told him you're going to the Night's Watch, he's like, "Is there even a Night's Watch still? Like, is there a reason for it?"
I was
Right.
surprised the wall was standing still. Like, I mean, wasn't it gone?
no.
No, but if
Half of it,
a big portion of it, but near the
Yeah.
coast, like near the
Oh,
opening,
okay.
it wasn't like in the middle. Like the
Okay.
middle didn't come down. It was by the edge of the coast or whatever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was like, that's a lot of snow to rebuild.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked again John Zen. John Zen worked for me a bit here, but I just can't believe he got fucked over so bad. Sansa asks for John's forgiveness, but John hesitates. He then tells her that she has gained independence for the North. However, she replies that the North has lost its king, but John tells her Ned Stark's daughter will speak for them. She's the best they could ask for. The two then share an emotional hug. Look at her, look at her.
Why? The women can't be the North of King, Queen of the North? No,
It's
come
not
on.
that. It has nothing to do with her being a woman or not. I just think
What?
it's like
Predictable.
it's just bullshit. Just like, it's like, oh my
But-
god, this
but-
whole thing
but-
is dumb.
Turning to
Baelish-
Arya.
Baelish knew it the whole time. It was a Baelish. Baelish knew it all the time. But
Sansa.
I was gonna be
Sansa.
there.
Turning to Arya, John tells her that she can come and see him at Castle Black, but she gives him a sad smile and
This
tells
was
him
awesome, though.
she's not coming back north. Yeah. When John asks her where she's going, Arya asks John what's west of Westeros, revealing that she is going beyond the Sunset Sea. John returns her sad smile, saying
Nobody
that he
knows.
doesn't know. Yeah. And Arya replies that no one knows what's beyond west, since it's where all the Westerosi maps stop, and
It's so
that's where
funny.
she is going.
It's so funny, eh? How
Yeah.
she's gonna be the next like one. That
Christopher
goes-
Columbus.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna discover. Then make the map of the world.
When John asks her if she has her sword needle, she replies that she has it with her and starts to cry. John wipes away his sister's tear and they both share a long hug. John turns to King Bran and kneels before him, apologizing for not being there when he needs him. However, he responds, "You were exactly where you needed to be."
He's got the best one-liners, man. This kid. No,
No,
the best.
it's annoying. It's
No,
annoying.
I can't. Like, guys, I'm getting so upset. Like, I'm getting so upset all over again.
We're almost done. In his usual quizzical
broken.
fashion, after this, John gets up and after a few moments of looking at his siblings one last time, leaves for the boat that is waiting to take him to Castle Black. The Starks separate, never to meet again.
and the best part is when I was saying there's got to be something with Bran. There has to be something with Bran.
You called that.
It
I'll
must
give
have
him
been
that.
eating you alive, eh?
Yeah,
She,
Driving me fucking nuts.
she made some looks or like kind of grunts when you fucking said that a couple of times. It's true, yeah.
Because who is it that Sansa puts the fucking dress thing, the slip from underneath her? Was it that underneath her dress or part of her dress or whatever, and it had the picture of you in the tree on there, had the design of the tree, because the tree's still there, right?
You and this
Right.
tree
Yeah, man. I don't know because it's been in
can't
every
get
opening
over
of the,
the tree.
scenarios. It's been in
I know.
everything.
Leave it for JT to like the most
Fixate on the weirdest things.
the most like the one storyline that you can't even explain.
Exactly, because we know it all. It's that three-eyed raven.
Elsewhere in the Red Keep, Brienne, who became the commander of Bran's Kingsguard, is going
They
through.
dropped me when I was young.
Bro, the show didn't even bother explaining the tree shit to you. So you know what I mean? Like when the show isn't bothering to explain that shit to you, why do you care so much? I don't
Because
understand.
I can make up the story afterwards.
Elsewhere in the Red Keep, Brienne, who became the commander of Bran's Kingsguard, is going through the Book of Brothers and finishes the record for Jamie. Reluctantly, she adds, died protecting his queen with tears in her eyes as she adds that part to the book. I didn't mind this. I didn't mind
but
this.
I mean, like, I felt bad for her.
You know what? She writes a bunch of good stuff about him, though. Like,
Yeah,
all
it
the
was
good
nice
things-
that she, yeah.
all the good things he did on his journey that she
Yeah.
was like there for, that she was aware of, that he wouldn't give himself the time of day to
The
acknowledge.
accolades for, yeah.
I liked that. I liked it. It actually
Did
literally.
you actually read it? Like, 'cause
Yeah, well, that's-
by that point, my eyes were doing this again, and I wanted to fucking. It was because I was
Yeah,
writing and trying to. I was like,
yeah, she tries to basically write something good about him, like set the record straight. You are able to read some.
I wrote the
things.
part. Yeah, I
Yeah.
seen the part about the queen, right? About died for this queen. It's
She
just too bad.
literally wrote the book on him and closed it shut. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like that was a nice final scene for him. I
Yeah.
thought. Yeah.
It's
yeah.
obituary.
Yeah, so you see the size of that book too?
Yeah.
Huge,
Fuck,
huge
man.
book. Yeah.
He's got a lot of history.
Well, that's everybody. That's all.
That's
of
all
them.
the-
It's like the King's
yeah, 'cause-
Guard. Like
yeah.
oh, yeah.
Okay. So any story they remember, they put in
Yeah.
there. Okay.
Tyrion and he and actually it tracks. There's some continuity in the show because he had talked about it earlier in the show at some point about like when people tell his story one
at the
day.
end, yeah.
What is he's gonna say? Kingslayer, like that. It always
That's all.
bothered
Yeah.
him that was the last thing that he was known for.
Yeah.
And she was just like, no, I'm gonna set the record straight. You did this, you died helping your queen because she was queen still at that time, like right. So like as much as she hated it, she's like, okay, yeah, it was nice. It was a fitting end. It was a
But
fitting
you can
end.
see it upside.
It was better than him getting crushed by a fucking rock.
Because she.
Tyrion, moving on. Tyrion at the small council chambers. You can tell how bitter we're getting towards the end here. Like,
I know,
fuck
both
this.
you guys, man. It's a going.
This
for me, it's
episode is just like,
excited.
I'm not
Yeah.
excited about this episode. I tried to come in here positive. I can't do it. This episode just like
And my name
okay.
keeps helping.
it
too.
okay.
wipes all the energy from me because I'm just like,
Honestly, this whole season you've been enjoying it. So like, let's get past this and move on to House of the Dragon, shall we?
I'm enjoying this.
Tyrion at the small council chambers is met by Davos and fucking Braun, man. I
That
love
guy
it.
survived,
I love
bro.
It.
I was like, where does this guy come from?
Loved it. Love that he's there at the council. Honestly, that's one of the best parts about this. The latter, now Lord of Highgarden, Sam also arrives, now appearing to be the Grand Maester, and presents a book called A Song of Ice and Fire, which
This is fucking funny.
is actually the book.
Yeah.
which is that. So there's a little bit of. When I seen this, I was like, you know what? The theory that we threw out there, a little bit of what your dad said, a little bit of it kind of like it kind of happened in that sense a little bit. Like there was some reference to the actual, like a meta.
he was writing a book.
Yeah.
He was writing
Well,
something.
Right. There is a kind of a meta commentary about the fact that like this actually is a fake story almost. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting.
Everything
yeah,
wrote down
right.
from, what do you say, from
Written by himself and Archmaester
Archmaester,
Ebros about the wars after Robert's Rebellion,
Yeah.
which is the actual book. Yes. Tyrion
Which
asks
is
whether
what Game of Thrones is about.
That's right, yeah. Tyrion asks whether he is mentioned in a positive or negative light. Sam informs him that he's not mentioned at all, much to everyone's amusement. Brienne and King Bran also arrive. Bran tells his advisors that they lack masters of whisperers, war, and law, to which Tyrion replies that suitable candidates for the titles will be brought to him in the coming weeks. Were you going to say something, Christina, there?
No.
Okay.
No.
you know what's funny? That could have been a shot to fucking the writer too. Hey, for hurry up! Look, Sam finished the book. You know,
I think he
When-
just announced the book 6 being done.
Did he really? Oh, I didn't
think
hear
it
about
was-
that.
I feel like I just saw something like recently about him saying that book 6 is finally done.
If that's the case, it might actually give me the kick in the ass to actually read these books finally if he's actually going to finish it. 'Cause
I
kinda
read the
would-
first 2
two. Yeah, you
or
said that on the-
3.
You said that on the. You said
I can't
2
remember.
when you talked about
It was
5
so
years
long ago. I don't even remember. But yeah, I would love to go back. All of these things. I'd love to go back and read all of them. You know.
Yeah, the old podcast. You did say you read the first
Yeah,
few
I
books.
remember. Yeah.
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 Brienne and King Bran also arrive. Bran tells his advisors that they lack Masters of Whispers, War and Law, to which Tyrion replies that suitable candidates will be brought to him in the coming weeks. When Bran asks on the whereabouts of Drogon, Sam replies that the dragon was last spotted flying east to Volantis.
See.
Right? See, CJ?
Who's he gonna go meet?
And then Bran says the most Branish thing.
But
Like he's like a
Bronn-
Bran muffin.
But
Boring and bland.
I like that.
And broken.
But Braun cuts him off, saying the farther away, the better. Since no one could give a satisfying answer, Bran decides to search for Drogon himself and leaves the room with Podrick, who is now a knight.
Bran is the best. He's loving this. He's loving this role. He's really taking it in.
That's
Well,
what they should have called. Not Bran the broken, Bran the muffin.
No? He's really loving this though.
Shortly after the new king's departure, Tyrion asks Bronn, who is also the master of coin, to provide food supplies from Highgarden, to which he assents with Davos asking for funds for rebuilding the navy. Tyrion talks about building a good sewer system to improve the hygiene of the city, while Bronn talks about rebuilding brothels. And they start squabbling with each other, apparently signaling a return to normalcy. So I got some notes on this, if you guys will allow me here. I have a couple of comments about this.
Oh, they're gonna practice saying hi and bye to him.
The way I perceived it, and I still perceive this, is that Tyrion is the acting king at the end of the day.
Well, he's
Because
right hand.
Bronn-
he played the game the smartest.
Bronn doesn't really want to do that. It's almost like he's there, like, because the way he excuses himself and he'd rather go warg into a fucking bird.
Sparrow.
Or whatever. Yeah. Like the way he was
Raven.
operating at that table, like he felt like he did literally have no interest in it, but he felt like a responsibility of sorts to be sitting on the throne so someone else isn't able to. It was almost like, I'm gonna do this just because like anyone else is not well suited for it. But it seems like Tyrion is acting in his place.
Well,
like
that's what the hand usually does. The hand is
The hand.
essentially like
but not
the,
this hands-on. Like this is more hands-on, I feel like, than like you know
Well,
what I mean? Like
The
well,
dwarf
no,
helps
because
the
like I mean,
cripple.
if we go back to like Tywin with Joffrey, like he was actually running the kingdom. Joffrey
But-
was just the namesake.
but that's because he wanted to and he manipulated him. Like that's why. It's not because like I think that's more of like he wanted to be the one technically who's the king, even though he's not,
Yeah.
right? Like that's what I felt about that situation. I always looked at it as that this was the perfect way for it to go. Because
guess, yeah,
Tyrion-
like,
yeah,
yeah,
like that's
okay.
I honestly didn't believe that like he was gonna work out, but he moved his pieces right, man. Like he played his pieces on that game on that board perfectly. Like he made it through the whole series, right? And you know, right up to the last part, I thought they were gonna kill him at the end, and then all of a sudden they switch him around. Oh yeah, we should do this. All right. No, he's next thing you know, he's the right hand to the king.
Right. I mean, like for me,
Again.
who was hoping that he became the king or like that he got in that council, I was really happy for Tyrion at the end of this too. 'Cause
Yeah,
it
me
makes
too.
sense. He is where he should be. Like
Yes,
this
he
is
100%. I agree
right.
with that.
Like, yeah. So like some people we're not happy about where they ended up, but that one I was pretty happy about too. I also I said here allows them the space to act in his name. And I also wrote here, I love this end of the council because you kind of pan out the scene and you see them all bickering with each other, and the fact that they have all this history with one another, and that these are some of the funnest characters that actually survived all this shit. Like at the end, like Brienne, like people deserved of
Yes.
these.
They deserve to
council.
be
Like,
there.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I kind of really loved this moment. Like if it ended on this, I would have been happy, honestly. Like
Should have.
I mean, I also like too that you know, when he's Tyrion sits and gets in there before everybody else, and he just arranges stuff, and you know, like I mean, he just does that whole
right, how he's like moving the chairs. Yeah, because
Yeah.
he was like, "Hey, I'm finally here. I'm finally doing
I
this."
can do this
Like-
again. Yeah, like I'm back. Like, you know, this guy was locked up in the fucking who knows how long he was locked up for, right? Because he did a lot of thinking. He said, "Hey,
Right. And
So who
and-
knows? That's when you play the game.
well, he loved the game. He said
Yeah,
it. He's
yeah.
like, I'm so good at it. Remember he
Yeah,
said that
yeah.
before? He's like, there's a reason why he stuck around. Like,
Smart,
yeah,
man. He's
he
all, you know.
So I like that part. So, anyways, here we go. Wearing the black garb of the Night's Watch, John reaches Castle Black.
Fuck.
As
He has
he
to go in the cold too.
sees
Like
his
they don't
boy-
even give him like a carriage or anything to go in.
Sees his boy Tormund on the castle walls, who gives John a sympathetic look. John reunites with Ghost, which was nice.
They all reunited with Tormund too again. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, they finally got to see each other again.
With the direwolf now missing an ear and visibly scarred like his
Fuck.
master. Meanwhile, Sansa returns to Winterfell, where she takes on the mantle of Queen of the North. I love the sigh from John when he returns and sees Tormund. I just love it. He's like, oh, here we go again. But again, makes sense that Sansa got what she wanted. She got what she wanted here. Like, I mean,
I mean, she didn't do. She just stayed in the background for a lot of it. I mean, there was some parts where she stood out, like in some series, in some episodes.
yeah, but she got
You
what
know-
she wanted. She
you know,
wanted
I
to
think-
be the North, right?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about this, you know, because in the beginning, like she was so I'm a lady, I'm gonna marry a prince and move away from my family, and she didn't care about protecting her family or her family's honor or like anything, right? She had her own agenda, so it's like it's kind of nice she came full circle back to like, well, she
Right.
came like
Both
she
families.
she just elevated herself, and it's like she really advocated for her home, for her name, for her title, you know what I mean, like her land and her people. So I mean, yeah, she turned out to be like more of a background character this season, but at the same time, like
Yes.
she was very much like a Stark. She was loyal, she
Yeah.
was honest, she was very like, you know, firm in her beliefs. And you know, I'm not upset that she's like queen of the North. Like I'm not. It was just a little irritating, just the smugness. It's not a very Stark quality. And it's
Yes.
like it was just very smug. And like the way she asked Bran or demanded that they become an independent state, it's like,
Right.
well, of course he's going to say yes. Like he's your brother, number one. Number two, like what is their reason to say no for? Like it's just like, I don't know, it was just a lot of smugness. I didn't like it.
No, I absolutely agree with you actually on that point. Notwithstanding like her this season, I agree with that, and she was not very well liked, I know, by fans this whole last period of the show as
Yeah.
well because of that very reason.
Well, that leaves
but-
it open too, right? For the
Right.
North.
Yeah, but it
In
makes
case they didn't
sense.
finish the book.
To your point, like it still does make sense that what ended up happening with her did she deserve this? Did you know what I mean? Like she went through a lot, like everybody else, of course, but the way that she got there, you're right, was a little troubling. I feel like some of her attitude towards the end, especially, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I
towards-
just-
yeah, yeah.
So,
it's-
Did
Go ahead.
they ever say? Like, I don't know. Maybe I skipped by it. Maybe it passed me over through the episode. But did they still don't know that John's?
They know.
They know that he's he's related to Thing.
Of course,
Okay. I
all the
didn't know.
family
I
knows.
presu-
He revealed it to them
yeah.
under that. You're a fucking
Oh, under
tree.
the bridge. Yeah.
And yeah, under your favorite tree. Under the umbrella tree. Do you remember that show? Oh my god.
no,
I
no.
do.
Nostalgia.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you don't remember that?
No, I don't remember that one.
No. We'll have
Oh
to
my
play that
God.
song on the outro.
As for Arya, she's looking content. Stands on the bow of her own ship, which flies the Stark banner. She sails forth
Sail.
towards unknown lands and an uncertain fate. Again, makes sense. This end, the Starks all kind of landed on their feet in a good way. I think, like you know, what I mean, this makes sense for her.
Yeah, and she's been known to like just take off.
Back at the wall.
disappear.
Finally, final scene here. Back at the wall, Jon and Tormund lead the wildlings outside the gates of Castle Black as they walk beyond the wall. Jon silently watches the gate close behind them and then looking at the wildling men, women, and children as they make their way as a brief look of peace. He rides among the group as they progress to the true north as the wildlings are finally freed from what has haunted them for thousands of years. As they walk by, a piece of grass can be seen emerging from the thawing snow as the first signs of spring begin to slowly appear in Westeros.
Mm.
It's funny. I wrote John's where he belongs, but you know, it's almost like they did that to kind of leave it where it was in case they had to finish the books too.
Not only that,
'Cause
they've
he's
been
still in the
talking about a
Night's
John
Watch.
show. That's
Yeah.
that's I mean that's why, because they kind of left his thing open ended in a way there, right?
I mean,
Like,
I mean, he's still at the Night's Watch. Like when I don't know. Like I said, when this 5 years ago, when this ended, how much of the books he had done, he had just through the set, and he hasn't done anything since then, right?
Mhm.
Because it leaves kind of stuff a little bit open if he's still writing. You know what I mean?
Right.
If they want to do something like that,
Well, I
and
mean, they've already
But
moved on to
George,
one. Go
that's
ahead.
he's
what's
literally just
independent.
finished the 6th book, and this was 8 seasons, so he still has like
Yeah, he's behind, right?
2 books to
Yeah,
write, and but it's taken forever to finish this last 6th one. Like they're never gonna like, you know.
And they've already moved on to other
like
spin-offs
the
as we
North is
speak.
independent, right?
Right.
That was in the beginning. John's of the Night
There's so
Watch is still
many.
from the beginning. There's a lot of things that started off like the beginning. Like you don't see Daenerys anymore when you know she's dead. She's dead now, but she's not there. Like there's a lot of things that are similar to
It's just how it is.
how
The
it
more
started.
things
It came
change, some
full
things, the
circle,
more
right?
stays the same, right? Sometimes,
Yeah,
right? Like everything comes back around sometimes, right?
yeah.
So, like, it's couple of final comments here I wrote down here though. Sansa's dress at the end, you guys a fan of that? It's a pretty sick dress I think she was rocking in that
Yeah.
scene actually. Yeah, that was pretty
There was
good.
a lot of symbolism. I think she had a lot of like her mom, like Catelyn,
Yeah.
like the Tully influence, the Stark influence, just a lot of different things in
The
there.
tree
Like
influence.
I thought we could have used it.
That was on her undergarment. Trust me, I'm telling you. I seen it. Sorry.
I thought we could have used the funny Tormund line when he showed up, which we didn't get,
No, I
which
know.
I
He
thought I was
just
kind of
stared at
confused
him.
by.
Yeah.
Right? Like just throw a funny Tormund line in there, like one. It
Yeah.
was just more of just like
Welcome
a nod.
back.
Yeah, I
Even
was
just
like,
like welcome
yeah,
back.
come
You
on
know,
now.
like not even just a look.
Come on, like it's
Like,
weird. That was a missed
Maybe he was
opportunity.
disappointed.
Missed opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like, you had it all, buddy. Well, now you're back here.
And finally, my final assessment of this, my final thoughts, and we can go around to here at the end here on our final thoughts. I put all the Starks have their own people that they that end up respecting them and report to them at the end, which made sense. And it was good to see Jon smile at the end and Ghost alive here. And I wrote Sansa got what she wanted. She became the queen of the North. Arya got what she wanted. She was able to continue her adventure. Jon got what he wanted, solitude. I think in his new kind
I
of
feel like
newfound,
that's what he wanted.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Bran, he's what the fuck? Who knows what's going on? That's the only one I put a question mark beside. I was like,
Hey.
Bran gets to do what he wants to do. He's gonna be elusive and work into fucking animals.
That's it. He's just gonna find things for everybody. That's all. He's gonna sit in
Waste.
his new throne. That's his new throne. I mean, that was awesome. Who would have thought the new throne would have had wheels?
But you know what? To be fair, like
Best seat in the house. Okay, go on.
That's exactly. And they pick him up and carry him up the stairs. There's no fucking access, no fucking elevators. There's nothing. So he's got people working for him. So
yeah, Podrick.
it's right, poor Podrick.
Right, that's
I guess like okay, so the question maybe to ask you guys, if not Bran, and maybe JT, not you, because we know you got the ending you wanted, but like, what about you, Nico? Like, if not Bran, like, who would you want to have sat
Oh.
on the Iron Throne?
Tyrion again.
Tyrion.
Tyrion was
Okay.
always my like. Even listening to that old audio, that's who I wanted to get it at the end of that. And like I said, I think in a weird way, he does get to act out as the king as a result of being the hand, and that's why Bran forced him into that position, because not only did he actually believe in him, he wasn't really given a fair shot with the whole Daenerys thing. He made a lot of fucking errors like during that whole time doing that, and it wasn't really, you know what I mean? Like that's not what we know of Tyrion, is to be that person. I think the whole thing with Daenerys took him down another whole path that wasn't really he wasn't prepared for. And I think he's gonna do right by and like you said, being one of the last Lannisters too, right? Like to have somebody still involved in King's Landing that's a Lannister and forced into this
Help maybe
position by
rebuild.
Bran to atone for the
Yeah.
mistakes that he made, right? And which that's why he didn't want to take it on. But he's like, no, you are going to take it on because you want to atone for the mistakes you've made and
Yeah,
you
he's
want to
gonna
do
make
right
up,
by
yeah.
it. And you actually have a reason to want to do like that, which
well,
nobody
he's
else,
seeing it.
right? But everybody else did it for their personal gain.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? So I think for me, it should have been Tyrion personally.
I feel like
always
Bran
felt
was
I think I
sitting
agree
there
with you.
the Raven. I think he was sitting there while Tyrion was in the cell thinking about
Right.
things and talking to John or whatever and saying, you know, come on, we got to figure this out. So I mean, you could see he's been genuine this whole time,
Yes.
right? You know, okay, yeah. When he's not so genuine when it needs to benefit him, but it's still, in a sense, genuine because he's doing it for other people in a weird way. Tyrion has that. I mean, he was grown. He grew on you the whole series, right?
Yeah.
And I remember when we were talking on the podcast. I didn't even know if I can say dwarf back then. You guys corrected me. Remember? That's how long ago this podcast was.
Well, they refer to him as such on the
Yeah,
show,
on the
and that's
show,
why
right?
I
That's
talk
why I was
about it in
allowed
the
to.
notes being that way. And yeah, it's not as bad as but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
So
I
I
hear what you're
was.
saying.
Yeah. But no, I was expecting something to happen with Bran. I didn't know he was going to become king, but I just felt like there was something that they're leaving out, and what was it? And I'm just thinking they've covered every other fucking aspect of it, of every
So
other.
that's who you would have chose, like, because she was asking, like, yeah,
I don't
that would
know. I
be your
mean,
answer. Do you think there was
I
someone better
It's
suited? That's what she asked. Do you think there was somebody better
well,
suited?
if you look at it as the way of him knowing everything, and him knowing the future and the past, he's their history and their you know what I mean in that sense with
Right.
the Raven. Maybe yeah, it is a smart move because then he can see kind of what's coming in a sense and be protecting everything. But you know, maybe telling Tyrion how to run it, like you said. So Tyrion kind of got, but
I think
they're both some winners, I think, because they just stood around and I
I
mean,
don't
Bran
I,
sat in a chair for fucking 8
I
seasons. Okay,
I don't
and
know
he
if I had
became
an
king.
opinion of who was on the throne, like, or I don't, I knew who I was going to be upset with being on the throne, but I don't think I had an idea of like who I would have preferred. I think I was just excited to see who it was going to be.
Mhm.
But
It threw me
yeah,
off when
I'm
they
not
said it.
happy with this. I know I'm not happy with this decision. Like,
Yeah, you never have been. I know that for a fact. Yeah, and you still are.
no.
I mean, what? Who? I mean, for, I think you were Team Daenerys even for a moment, right to the end, right? Like you were
Yeah,
gonna
I
like she could
was.
turn it around. Like you thought maybe there was gonna be some redemption in that character, right? Like,
Yeah, I
y-
thought for sure. But if she didn't do what she did, I was Team Daenerys the whole time.
right?
But it's like when she did what she did in episode 5, I was like, no, there's no way. Like now it's like, there's no way because they have to end the season,
Yeah.
the series. I keep saying season, but they have to end the series. And it's like, they're not going to close the series off like this. Like it's not going to end this way.
In that same sense, though, like many shows, it's not the ending you want, but it's the ending you got,
Yeah.
right? Like it is. It's like with Sopranos, where it
Yeah.
was open ended and no one knew what happened.
I think I was
So
more
many
disappointed
other
with
shows,
Sopranos.
right?
Sopranos. I think I was more disappointed with Sopranos
I
than
think it's
this one.
actually aged very well. Like I actually like it now,
Yeah, I
but
haven't
I
gone
think
back
at
to
the
watch it, but
time,
yeah.
yeah, it was kind of bullshit. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I think your C+ rating is actually a fair rating, honestly, because
Ask me 10 years from now.
yeah, I did like some of the things that happened in this episode, like we talked about here today. But then there's
They were
so
quick.
many brash decision making and story lost to this episode
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
a result of them again, which was like the comment of this whole season rushing through these events.
Mm.
That I felt like we were robbed of a whole other part of this story,
Yeah.
especially in this last episode, right?
And I think it
Like,
was this episode exactly. This episode was the one that did it for us. Like it really made us feel like we were robbed. I mean,
yeah,
because looking back on it, it's like the season wasn't bad. It's not the season.
no,
It's this episode. And this episode had such an impact on the overall feeling of the ending of the show that it's like, yeah, I I can't get over how the
yeah.
show ended, and I can't even look through season 8 and say, season 8 was a great season minus this episode. Like, this episode is like a fail for me.
Tainted it for you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
this episode was just awful. Like, it just ruined the whole season and series. Like, not the whole, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
that's the problem with these endings or these shows, though. Yeah, it really is. Like, I mean, like, but you're
How
right.
do you end the show? Right? Like, I mean, it's hard. Like,
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's another question. It's like, okay, well, it's like, well, then you do better, right? When somebody always
Yeah.
has like a critique, right? It's like, okay, well, then you do it. Like,
I
I don't know how I would have ended it, to be honest.
and I talked about it on the show when I briefly talked about it on my own with Jay after you had joined us for those episodes on the podcast all that time ago. I even said I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it the way that most people hated it. Like there were some things I liked, there's some things I didn't like, and I think like, given that it didn't ruin the whole show for me, I'll say that. But yeah, was there some decisions that they landed on that I didn't love? Absolutely. But I think that's
Yeah.
unfortunately that's for most things, right? Nothing's perfect, I think, when it boils down to it. And I was just happy for the way some of these characters' story ended more than anything,
Yeah.
right? Like, and but yeah, Bran, that was a weird decision. I think I agree with you. I mean, yeah, like Jay made some good points. I mean, it makes sense that in some sense, where is there someone better suited? Possibly not out of those group of people because they,
I mean, the kings don't really fight or anything. They just sit there in their chair while everybody else does their own thing
but
for them.
but does it make sense to the story? No. Maybe that was the whole point. They wanted to do something totally out of left field, and the person that got fucked over the most out of this whole show, literally from the first episode, right?
Was Bran.
Was Bran.
Yeah.
I know. I'm not convincing Christina. She's like, no.
The
I'm not
guy,
hearing it.
the guy fell. He hasn't been able to walk. He's been carried around through fucking everywhere. You know. Yeah. I think
It has
Give-
nothing
give
to
him
do
a
with
little-
that. It's just like his storyline is just so contradictory. Like where
Well,
he
there's not
went in
much
his
to it, right?
story, like what he did, and then how he was. It's so contradicting. Like it's just that's what bothers me. It's like it's so out of this whole episode. There were so many out of character moments because they were in such a rush to
Yeah.
finish like this, and they crammed way too much in for like they should have made this season like 8 episodes, like you know
Yeah.
what I mean, like, and we would have, I think, maybe felt a little bit more justified.
Yeah.
But no, they rushed it too quick and left out too much.
No, agreed. I yeah, some of the decision making is a bit of a travesty, quite honestly, because like if you're rocking with this show like from day one, and this is what you get at the end, where like 8 seasons. Yeah, I agree. I get why people were upset. I get
Yeah.
it, but I also like. Has it aged any better with me now? I mean, I loved doing this show. I love doing these episodes with you guys. I love discussing it.
Yeah.
Getting in the weeds, deciphering this. I do have a new appreciation for this show, having done this show now, right? And I
Yeah.
hope you enjoyed it. This
Yeah,
being
yeah,
your first
I
time
did.
around, and I'm looking forward to House of the Dragon. And I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
other
Oh yeah,
spinoffs.
for sure.
So that's
Same.
what I mean. If anything, like it kind of like it did bring me back a little bit, but was it disappointing in some aspects? Absolutely, it was. It
But
still
yeah,
is. It
I
still
agree with you,
is.
Nico, because I mean, like, look, like here, this is like my like 8th time doing like watching this show, and the 3rd time watching the last season. But like, you know, like it just it's one of those shows that just makes me want to keep watching, even though I know the
Yes.
outcome because it's so good. So despite how it ends and everything, whatever, like, and yeah, doing this has been so much fun.
Yeah.
And I
Oh,
just like it's just been a great experience.
And honestly, your optimism coming into wanting to do the last season with us and kind of saying like, you know what, I am gonna come in with like, you know, new. You said I'm gonna come in with a different perspective this time around. I'm actually gonna see like I've
I thought it was
revisited
gonna be different.
recently. Yeah, well, you know, listen. I mean, it's you can't love everything, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
the nature of the beast. So, but Jay, I'm.
I did. I enjoyed it.
Your final say, man, because you're this first time watching it. Final thoughts there.
I thought it was great, the whole series. Okay.
There you
The
go.
the only thing is that you can't end it's hard to end the series for
Yeah.
anything. So I mean, yeah, okay, you said they rushed it, but even to make a last episode, unless you can sit there and really think on how to close it, especially if you're going just off a whim,
Mhm.
you've went all so long off based off a book, and then now you're going on a whim sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah, I think that played a big part into it as with the
So-
director. With the writers.
Not to end on a negative note, but out of everything, because we've kind of griped about the things that we disliked about this, because this is our second, like, well, not second time around for Christina, but this is us revisiting the show once again. What was, if there's one thing you think you didn't like the way it ended here in this finale, what was it? If there's one thing you feel like they could have changed.
I kind of wanted Jamie to stick around.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
kinda-
I'm with you.
that was a
I'm
big
with
one.
you. Yeah.
I didn't want to see him there underneath the fucking thing with that bitch.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I would have liked to see him end up with Brienne and like him finding some happiness in that regard. But
Or even just
Would
but-
you?
But
Oh,
then
yeah,
we
sorry,
wouldn't
sorry.
get the book moment. No, I was gonna say, but then we wouldn't have got that nice moment with the book. Or
Mm.
I just wish that he would have died.
More honorably.
Yeah, that was a stupid way to go out. I agree with
But
you, Jay.
it
That
also
was-
does make you. It shows you the way love what a love will do to you. It doesn't matter if it's with your own sister. I guess.
Jay-
that's still my biggest gripe though, is that end. That's even more so than this last episode. that I agree with him. That is still the thing that pisses me off the most. I mean, I went off last episode about it, but yeah, that's the thing that pissed me off the most. Still is a Jamie end. But what were you gonna say? Go ahead.
Do you think, Jay? Do you think you'll watch the show again for pleasure, like in like a year or two, like down the road, or you done now? Like you're never gonna watch this again?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't really go back.
He
into
doesn't
it unless-
revisit
I don't
shows.
revisit
Really?
Yeah,
shows.
he watches a lot of TV. He watches a lot of television.
This just freed up so much more time now for television because a lot of stuff.
Bro,
came
we're doing
back.
House of the
I know.
Dragon. What do you mean
I
next
know.
week? We're doing House of the Dragon. What do you mean? We gotta get it done. We got 2 months.
I
We gotta
know.
record 10 episodes. It's 10, Christina, not 8. Actually, the new season's 8. So we gotta do it. It's like 5
I gotta
get-togethers to
get
do
more.
that.
I gotta get more books, man. You know, I'm running out.
You have the House of the Dragon book. What do you
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
I got it.
Yeah, but that's only
Did
for
I
the
did
first
I
season.
did we show you? I got him a Lannister. Sorry, no,
Aw.
a Targaryen notebook.
Yeah.
That's
The
so
right
Leather,
nice.
with leather,
Nice.
with
Yeah,
leather. I don't even want to write in it because it looks so nice. Yeah, my writing's gonna be sloppy. It's gonna look.
No,
like
you
fucking-
have to use the Targaryen book for House
Can
of
I
the
use
Dragon. You
Old
have
English
to.
writing? Can I use
Yes.
Old Targaryen writing? I'm gonna start writing. I'm gonna put the
So-
subtitles on and see
Yeah.
if it gets some weird writing.
So yeah, that being said, guys, that's it. That's Game of Thrones. That's the end of watching the Throne here on Late Night Chat Network.
Fuck,
Thank you to
man.
our guest Christina, our
Yes.
super fan guest, for joining us on the many episodes that she
Fuck.
joined us, guys. You can go back and
Hurrah.
watch her. I think she started coming on for season 3 to 5 for a bunch of episodes, and then
Yeah.
she joined us for the entirety of this last season here. And she'll be joining us, like I mentioned, on the new House of the Dragon show. We may rework the title for that one. You know, that's still yet to be seen. Instead of watching the throne,
Yeah,
we might
watching the
change it up.
dragon.
Watching the I was thinking chasing the dragon. I thought that would be kind of fun, but something along those lines. We'll workshop that. But
Okay.
anyways, guys, make sure to check out Late Night Chat Network for that. There will be a new playlist for that show coming up. And we're going to be dropping those episodes leading right up to the new release of season 2 of House of the Dragon coming this summer in June.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, so that'll be a lot of fun. So make sure to tune in for that,
Those will be
guys.
good, man.
Like and subscribe, and thank you once again to Christina. Yeah, give her a round of applause.
Yeah,
Thank
straight
you,
up.
Christina.
Thank you guys.
Honestly,
Thank you guys.
honestly, you did a great job joining us here with
Hey.
all the stats, all the facts you busted out during your experience in Westeros that you were able to share with us.
Thank you. Thank you. I bow.
She's really
I bend the
Arya.
knee.
She's
I bend the
really
knee.
Arya. She made the whole map behind her. She's already gone to visit
There you
everything.
go.
Yeah, see?
She finished the map. Yeah, guys. That's Christopher Columbus right there.
All right, guys. We'll see you
Fuck.
in
How many episodes was this?
73.
Holy fuck.
73 episodes. It's taken a year. It's taken a year to get
Plus
through these.
263. Holy fuck. There's
Yeah.
a lot of
70
lot of recording, man.
Yeah,
Me and Nico. Me and Nikiko. There's have somebody.
Go on. Come on, tongue tied. Come on.
Me and Nico, man. We fucking we record a lot. I can only imagine how many. Oh my
You
God.
guys do.
Christina's
This-
joined us for quite a bit too. And honestly,
Yeah.
that
No.
being
But I
said-
mean, period.
that being said, I do want to give a shout out to some of the
5
other guests
years.
that we've had on the show
Yeah.
too. We did have Leslie on for an episode. I
Yes.
think Kyle joined us for about 4 or
Couple of
5
them,
episodes
yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so shout out
Kyle's
to
a
him
huge
as well.
super fan. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm sure he'll be making an appearance come House of the Dragon season 2.
I hope
I
so.
know
I hope so.
We previously had talked about that, and hopefully, you know, we'll also might see some new faces with the new season coming out, because I think people are going to be highly anticipating the return of that thing. So we might
And-
see
So
some
fun.
new people
So
join
We need
as
to
exciting.
have
well.
a game night because I really want to play the game, man. Like I've been.
Yeah,
wanting
we'll
to.
do it. Game of Thrones
Like,
Risk.
seriously.
I got it. Let's do
Yes,
it.
I've been really
There you go.
wanting to, like, since
There
the
you
beginning
go.
of watching this thing, and we haven't had
See?
a
We
chance.
Oh,
to
yeah,
do it.
let's do it.
We converted you into a fan,
know,
Jay. It
I
went
love
from
it.
5 years ago you talking shit about us on a
I'm gonna be
podcast.
Yeah,
like
making
Brock.
fun of us for being
I'm gonna be
children
like
and
Brand.
like
I'm gonna be like
immature.
Brand. I'm gonna be like Brand. I'm gonna pick that character, and if it's can you pick them in the game?
Jade's gonna get
No, it's
rolled,
like the
rolled
houses.
into the Jade's gonna get rolled into the room.
Yeah. Take the Monopoly character.
Well, how old are
Yeah.
you turning again this year, Jay? Never mind.
Oh, yeah. Nice
Moving
shot.
on. Moving on.
Nice
All right.
shot.
Moving on.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for this. Thank you once again. And make sure you like and subscribe and follow us on to House of the Dragon, which
Yes.
will air a week from today. If you guys watching this episode, it'll be on next week by the time you guys watch this. Yeah, House of
And
the
for the
Dragon.
last time, DJ, play that tune.
Oh fuck. They even did it at the end of it. Oh my god. Thank gosh.
Let's do it.
Oh man.